Yeah, bless up everyone. We are live once again on another beautiful day to be live and to be alive. So we're gonna let people trickle in. We have a great show for you today. Big up to the people who've been tuning in. And let's do a little housekeeping, right? So let me put the information on that needs to be put on in terms of people calling in. Call in here. I'm gonna put that on. So big up to everyone tuning in. You know how we do it. Another day, another live, another day to be alive. You know what I'm saying? So big up Shakara, Shabakara Imani. Big up. Blessed love to Kashaku, as always. Peace, fam. Shabakara Imani. Bless. Those who are on YouTube, feel free to call in the call-ins and Facebook and Twitter as well. We'll be expanding to a bb2me.com next week and bb2me TV, where real people are at as well, where there's no censorship, built by us for us. You know the vibes. Our good brother Obadale Kambon has his situation there, and we always want to be part of that. We want to be part of that action at all times. Today's show is going to be very interesting. I have a good brother calling in, Howard Dorsey. And what Howard has to share with you all is a very great story because while we were in Africa working on manufacturing and putting together a factory, a brick making factory, myself and the good brother Nana Kwame, big up Nana Kwame wherever you're at. Howard Dorsey joined us. And it was his first time in Africa. And we're going to talk about that. And we call it the Howard Dorsey experience, which is something that everybody should be engaged in. He'll be calling in at some time, probably around 8:30. We're going to get into it. We're going to cover some of the news that's going on in the world right now, which I call hidden news. And I have something in terms of people being able to curate their Twitter content, right? So, all right, for Facebook, I put in the call in here. And for Twitter, I'm going to put in the call in here where people can call in, all right? So let me just take care of that for y'all. Y'all just get comfortable. Pour your drink, roll up what you need to roll up, kick back, relax. You know how the show goes. We're talking about things that usually aren't spoken about, and to give you a different perspective based on results, y'all. Everything that I talk about is based on experience, results, or the results that other people who've been successful have been able to garner from their endeavors. And so what we do is that we basically, in a sense, go over case studies for success in life and look at reverse engineering success in many different ways. And as always, the drip that I'm wearing is provided by Adenoho. If y'all can see it, you know what I'm saying? That's what the sleeve looks like. Just white, a little orange. So Adenoho wear straight out of Ghana. That's my fashion designer of choice. And one of these days when we get our acts together, a lot of us will be wearing Adenoho and not the other brands that these people who are called celebrities in our world like to wear. We like to believe in ourselves, and we like to support those of us who support us. And it's not necessarily about support. It's just about doing what's consistent with self-preservation and thriving. If you have a business, you want the people in your culture and your community to really benefit from your business and you to benefit from them as well, just like other cultures and other communities. And there's no way that clothing designers in our communities should be struggling in any way when we know that our people love to buy clothes and they love to wear other people's clothes, whether it be, the names that you all know about. Uh, it doesn't make sense for us to be raging to, buy the work product of other people, and we're not doing it for ourselves. So instead of complaining, we don't critique to just critique. We, as Marget Wade says, we create. We critique by creating. And so the brother Adenoho from Adenoho Wear has created a great, great, great product in terms of clothing that is from the continent. And to me, all other brands are inferior compared to what I'm getting from Adenoho. So, people have contacted me about Adenoho Wear. You just go online and put in Odenoho Wear, ODNEHOWEAR, and you will be able to benefit from having their clothing. And when you walk around, you have a little bit more drip, a little bit more confidence. And those of us who know, we know that when we're wearing clothing that is more congruent with who we are in our culture, we actually look better. I know that I've seen it. I know that when I see women of African persuasion wearing African clothing, they just seem more attractive to me. I find them to be more attractive. And also, one of the quintessential examples is, people from India. When I've seen Indian women wearing American clothes, and when they put on their saris and their traditional clothing, they just look more attractive to me. They look more beautiful. If you've seen people from Ethiopia, when they put on their clothing, they just look more beautiful. When you go to Nigeria, we talked about that. I've spent, a good amount of time in Lagos. And in Lagos, I actually think that Nigerians are the best dressed people on earth because they just dress up for no reason. And you just be around Lagos and you see them walking around, and it's like, yo, they are really, really beautiful in terms of wearing the African clothing. Lagos definitely does a great job with that. We have Kashaku saying facts and head wraps. Absolutely. When the sisters put on the head wraps, it's a whole different story. With the African skirts and all of that, it's a whole different story. So, we like to keep it consistent, and we're not, most of what I push is not necessary for moral reasons. It's just actually it's better, right? So even when we talk about Africa, we're not necessarily talking about Africa, and the love of Africa for moral reasons. Like, even though there are moral arguments to be involved in the African Renaissance program, what we really are interested in is we want the best. And it just happens that the best is, located in Africa in terms of just lifestyle, living, culture, quality of life. Africa has it all. You know what I'm saying? And those who don't know is because you haven't been to Africa recently, and you might be looking at the news. And the US media is the worst place to get news about the world. It's not accurate. And there's so many examples of that. And that's why, like, on Mondays, I like to do hidden news. Kashaku says, now they're saying Cote d'Ivoire got Niger beat now in fashion. Okay. That's cool. I like to see it. I like to see what it looks like. We're all that's all West Africa. So it's the western section of Africa. So I don't expect it not to be competitive and not to be looking beautiful. I'd love to see what the different fashions they got out of Cote d'Ivoire, aka Ivory Coast. But I'm sure it's on point. I'm sure it's very beautiful. And when we see ourselves as to who we're supposed to be. It gives us more focus to be who we're supposed to be. You understand what I'm saying? So, and that's for everybody. Like if you're European, like rock your European clothing. Like whatever is indigenous to you, like rock that and make it look good. Like just be who you are. If you're an Eskimo, rock that Eskimo fur. Rock that seal skin. You understand what I'm saying? With no apology. Whatever it is, just do it. Um, the point of the matter is people got to be who they are and celebrate who they are. You know what I'm saying? Uh, we're gonna get into some of the news of the day, and then we're gonna get into the Howard Dorsey experience. Howard Dorsey will be calling in the next 15 minutes. Anybody else who wants to call in and chop it up, feel free to call and chop it up. I see someone called in a little earlier. It might have been my mistake. I don't know. I think the name was Mofura. I was gonna have you tap in and chop it up, with myself in the audience. So if you want to call back, it seems like you called in and then logged out. But if you want to call back, feel free to call back. Because this conversation that we're having is an ongoing, perpetual conversation around self-improvement, and not just the individual, but the improvement of the group, right? And so when we talk about things on that type of a level, everyone's participation, everyone's voice is important. Just know that what we do here is, whatever you say and whatever opinion you have is not necessarily wrong, but just be prepared to back it up with some type of information. Because what it can do is it can serve as a learning experience for all of us. I am not right about everything, but I love to be corrected. I love for people to show me where I'm wrong, because it just contributes to my growth. And if I was right about everything, I wouldn't need to talk to nobody, right? The whole point of communication is to have back and forth dialogue. People shouting people out. Kashaku getting shouted out. Shabakara. Imani. Bless up to those listening. So yeah, so why don't we look at some of the news of today? So what I do is that I curate, y'all. So some of the places I go for the news of the day is it's all on Twitter, by the way, or X. I don't really go anywhere else for news. I follow certain Twitter accounts, and I showed you all who I follow. And one of them that I follow is one called the Vigilant Fox. So you all can check the Vigilant Fox if you want. And a lot of it is like news from the United States that's not being covered, and used from different parts, news from the different parts of the world that's also not being covered. And so let me make myself a little bit smaller, because it's more about the news than it is about me. And what I want to do, I want to share with y'all some things that you probably are not aware of before we get into the Howard Dorsey experience. So what this guy does in his page on Twitter is he puts up news every day, and it's called Media Blackout, 10 news stories they chose not to tell you. And this is May 12th, 2024, right? This is the news that's not being covered. And this guy specializes in it. And so what he does, he gives you a list, and then in the thread, he gives you the deeper story. So number 10, the United Kingdom refuses to sign World Health Organization's pandemic treaty. We're going to cover that. We're going to cover this whole pandemic thing, because there's been some admissions made by the same media channels and media personalities who were so gung-ho about taking the COVID vax, when many of us were against it for scientific reasons and also historical reasons. I did a lot of work on it during 2020, 2021, 2022, when the pandemic was full steam. And, I was showing people how to basically treat themselves at home with, zinc ionophores and vitamin D. And while at the same time as I'm giving the information, I'm being shadow banned on Facebook and YouTube. That's what they did. And even me saying the word shadow ban may shadow ban me even more right now. But it is what it is. I'm not going to stop telling people what I believe is life-saving information because the powers that be don't like it. So I'm the wrong soil for that type of a seed. Anyway, I think tomorrow what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a show tomorrow strictly on the turnaround that's happening in the mainstream media around the pandemic and around the vaccines. There's a lot going on right now where there are a lot of the villains of 2020, 2021, 2022, when the pandemic was hitting hard. Um, the people who were supposed to be the mouthpieces of what the public should be doing and what the official story was, they're now retracting. And a lot of them are trying to pretend that they weren't the main antagonists who were pretending to be protagonists. And there's a couple of those figures there, and we're going to cover it. And part of this news list here covers one or two of them. And we're going to go over it tomorrow. I think tomorrow we're going to do it. And the title is going to be called, the title of the show tomorrow is going to be called The Lying Liars Who Love to Lie and the Miscreants Who Support Them. Or maybe it should be The Lying Liars Who Love to Lie and the Dummies Who Support Them. Let me know if you like dummies or miscreants better. You could just go into the chat. But the title of tomorrow's show, and depending on what people say, that's what the title will be. So it's going to be called The Lying Liars Who Love to Lie and the Miscreants Who Support Them. And if you don't know what miscreant means, just look it up. Or it was going to be called The Lying Liars Who Love to Lie and the Dummies Who Support Them. And the reason why we say dummies is because people pretended that they knew what they were talking about. And they didn't know what they were talking about. And they were speaking strongly about, and I'll tell stories tomorrow. I was part of panels. I was invited to be part of panels with so-called health experts. And these are people, you know, who have degrees in nursing or doctors. I remember one in particular where there were some Caribbean people who invited me. They were out of Trinidad, and it was a health conference on what to do with the whole pandemic. And the assumption was that the vaccines were good based on the title, like what to do, you know, what to do in addition to taking the vaccine or something like that. And I was the only voice on there. There were doctors there, there were nurses on there, masters of public health. I'll never forget this. And when it was my time to speak, I was saying, there's an assumption here, an underlying assumption here without any type of conversation that these vaccines are actually good. Like, let's get to that first. Before we start talking about anything else, let's talk about these vaccines and let's talk about why they're actually not good. Let's talk about why they are actually dangerous, and the history of Pfizer and the history of, we don't even have to go through the history of vaccines. Just do the history of Pfizer, and that you guys are saying that it's going to limit, it's going to limit the spread and it's going to stop the spread. And I was like, that's actually not what the studies are saying. And the studies that you all are quoting from, because I like to read studies, I like to read them for fun. The studies were actually sponsored by Pfizer. So the same person that you're using to rely on the studies are the person who benefits the most from the vaccines in terms of financially. This is what you call a classic conflict of interest. And, you know, I talked about that, and it was just crazy how I remember there was one, a big up eyewitness, Brother Genesis, health professionals, you people who say anything to pay down their medical school debt. Correct. Correct. Absolutely correct. And I have a lot of information that there were doctors, they have this now, except because I'm on Twitter or X, I get this information because of the people I follow, and my feed is curated. So they have information that Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca was paying doctors $250 per shot. No, $1,000 per shot. So they would give them $1,000 for every shot, but I believe the threshold was 250. So you had to get up to 250 people that you gave a shot to, and then they would cut a check to the doctor for $250,000. So the doctors were looking at checks at $250,000, every couple months for basically giving 1,000 people these shots. And there's the paperwork there. So I have the paperwork, I have applications, and I have all of it. I'm going to share it tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be called, so Kashaku says she likes lying liars who love to lie and the miscreants that supports them. Okay, that's what we'll call it. Lying liars who love to lie and the miscreants who support them. That's what we're going to do tomorrow. That's what it's going to be called. And please like and share the stream. Yeah, please feel free to like and share. And eyewitness, yes, facts. Exactly. So we're going to cover that tomorrow, y'all. That's going to be Lowell, big up Lowell. He says definitely miscreants. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's a nice word. It's very appropriate. We like to abuse them with their own language, English. So let's abuse them with English tomorrow. That's the title of tomorrow's show, is The Lying Liars Who Love to Lie and the Miscreants Who Support Them. And I'm going to give you all a little chapter and verse tomorrow. I'm going to play video of people who have now backpedaled, who were the most vicious people. You know what I mean? So yeah, Shabaka Rahmani says, miscreants, they weren't dumb. They knew they didn't have the clinical trials to back their claims. Yeah. So the ones that I'm calling dumb were the people who didn't even read the clinical trials. They were the people who just repeated whatever the governments told them. So the government or whatever the news media said, they just repeated it. So I had a lot of people who were arguing with me. They were just repeating talking points from Rachel Maddow. Literally, if you take it, it stops the disease right on its tracks. You can't get it and you can't pass it on to anybody. Whoops. They were wrong about that, right? And so, that's a class of people. But I think that miscreants is a better word, because if you didn't do the research yourself and didn't look into it, not only are you dumb, but you're a miscreant too, because it's such an important time. You think people would do research, right? And not just rely on what's being said, particularly when there's money involved, right? Like, people should know that already. So yeah, that's what we're going to call it tomorrow. Big up Shabaka Rahmani. We're going to go with miscreants. Lowell, we're going to go with miscreants. Kashaku, we're going to go with miscreants, So tomorrow's show is The Lying Liars Who Love to Lie and the Miscreants Who Support Them. That's what we're going to do tomorrow. So give thanks for the feedback, y'all. So what we're going to do is go through this chart a little bit before we get into the Howard Dorsey experience. So apparently the World Health Organization has a treaty, a pandemic treaty that they wanted the United Kingdom to sign, but the United Kingdom is refusing it. We'll find what that's about. Number 9, Joe Biden crumbles as CNN host unexpectedly fact checks him to his face. I think the key there is unexpectedly, because the Democratic Party expects CNN to always softball them and never fact check them. So I guess the unexpectedly is the news here, right? Because it was unexpected. So we'll see what that looks like. Boeing, number 8, Boeing story takes shocking turn as 10 new whistleblowers come forward after 2 died. Now, this was said in a very soft way. It says after two die, actually, there's a lot of information showing that the people were killed. The story is that Boeing has been taking shorts on their planes and not really fixing them correctly, and really taking a lot of shortcuts. And people are reporting that as whistleblowers. And I know one of the whistleblowers, the first one, showed up dead, even though he said, if I die, it's not me. I did not kill myself. And then a couple of days later, they say it was suicide, right? Number 7, Scarf Lady, Deborah Birx. That was Dr. Deborah Birx. During the pandemic, she was one of the leading voices next to Fauci. She says thousands of Americans could be injured by the COVID vaccines. Could be injured. So what you're going to start seeing, y'all, when we go into tomorrow's show. So let me just put that in. True, that's what they teach you in the public schools. To repeat, not to think. That's how you get praise and A's being a parrot. Absolutely. We have our good brother Howard Dorsey in the waiting room. We about to have him come on live. Give me 1 second, Howard, as I go through this list, and we're going to get in with the Howard Dorsey experience, y'all. Y'all going to love this. So let me just tell you what this one's about. Deborah Birx definitely is a criminal. She knew that she was lying about certain things around the pandemic and the vaccine, but she went along with it, and she admitted it. And she's definitely one of the lying liars who love to lie, and she is a miscreant, definitely. So we're going to really get into her tomorrow. But listen to, she says that they could be injured by the vaccines. We knew that people would be injured by the vaccines, but apparently they didn't. But they did. They didn't care. But when they say could be injured by the vaccines, to even use the word could, in the intelligence world, I want people to pay attention to this. In the intelligence world, what I mean by intelligence world is like, I'm talking about like the, COINTELPRO and the spy world and the CIA and all of that. There's a term that I would like you all to remember called limited hangout. So what a limited hangout is when the government has been caught doing something. And let's just say that something has 3 levels of egregiousness, from level 1 to level 2, level 3 being the worst. The government will admit to level 1 or maybe even level 2, but they will never admit to level 3. What they will do is they will admit to level 1, have it covered in the news, and people think that that's all it is. And then any thought of level 3 is just a conspiracy theory because the government has already admitted to something going wrong. So what it's called a limited hangout. So why it's called a limited hangout is like when you take clothes that have been washed and you put it out in the sunlight and you just put it out to hang for a limited amount of time, right? So you put the truth out for a limited amount of time in terms of the severity of it being very low and actually giving it a news cycle so that people just forget about it. It's called a limited hangout. And it's a psychological operation that they do in intelligence communities. So right now, what's happening with the vaccines, the admission of the vaccines harming people going public in mainstream media and government officials is what you would refer to as a limited hangout. And just trust me on this, these people have the same playbook every time. It's the same playbook, and they actually have terms for it. So what you're seeing now with people like Deborah Birx, and you're going to see from people like the guy Chris Cuomo, who was on CNN telling everyone you need to get vaxxed and blah, 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 blah. Well, now he's talking, and he's doing a limited hangout as well. And we're going to see what he's talking about. We're going to cover this tomorrow. The lying liars who love to lie and the miscreants who support them. That's the title of tomorrow's show. So Putin orders military to hold nuclear weapons drills. That's a big story. And if they're not covering that in the news, we're looking at apocalypse because the United States government, France, and Britain insist on expanding NATO to Russia's door. Okay? And Putin's like, no, we're not going to let that happen. And the guy who's running Ukraine actually is a former comedian. Actually, he's still a comedian. He never retired. So the guy Zelensky is a comedian who became president through the support of America, and also Ukraine. Their democratically elected president was overthrown by the United States, because what the United States is trying to do is they're trying to put NATO in Russia's backyard. It's very similar to if Russia was trying to put like the Russian military organizations in Canada or Mexico, how the United States would react. And we've already seen how the United States reacts to something like that, because it happened with the Cuban Missile Crisis. But when the United States does it to other people, everyone's supposed to just let it happen. And Putin's like, nah, I don't think so. You understand what I'm saying? You remember that song? I'm going back to Cali, Cali, Cali. Nah, I don't think so. You know what I'm saying? That's what Putin's saying. Nah, I don't think so. So he's doing military drills because he's letting you know he's about that life. And this is what's going on right now. So pro-vaxxer gets schooled after challenging Robert Kennedy on the COVID vaccines. We can look at that as well. And then number 4, YouTubers catch a Hollywood producer trying to date a 15-year-old girl. What else is new? Former CNN anchor Chris Cuomo makes a shocking U-turn on ivermectin. Another limited hangout, y'all. Because Chris Cuomo is another aspect of the lying liars who love to lie and the miscreants who support them. And then number 2, Trump classified documents trial postponed indefinitely after Jack Smith admits to evidence of tampering. Oh, what else is new? Tampering of evidence in the legal system. That's par for the course. And AstraZeneca withdraws COVID-19 vaccine globally after admitting deaths. Okay. We knew this already. Tried to warn people that these vaccines, or even according to the World Health Organization, had more adverse effects reports than all vaccines ever in history combined in the first 5 months of the release of the vaccines. I did lectures about this, and we're gonna cover this tomorrow. So there's about 4 of the stories here that we're gonna cover tomorrow in depth. And remember, the title of tomorrow's show is "The Lying Liars Who Love to Lie and the Miscreants Who Support Them." And we're gonna get deep into it tomorrow. But without further ado, yeah, Cuomo went super hard on ivermectin. Yeah. Yep. I mean, I have people who try to do what they call themselves trying to shout me down over ivermectin too. When I showed them the research, oh, there's a horse dewormer, blah, 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 blah. And they didn't understand that like it's used for human beings too. And they were just repeating talking points. Meanwhile, I was taking ivermectin. You know what I'm saying? You know, I don't listen to these people. Going back to Cali bar, yeah. Nah, I don't think so. You understand? And then Kashaku, my family took AstraZeneca. Yeah, a lot of people took AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Moderna. People don't listen, man. You show them everything, and when you find out that, you know, the media just has a bigger bullhorn than we do as family members, and people don't want to listen, man. I mean, I have friends who didn't listen. You know, I have a very good friend of mine who suffered some serious vaccine injuries. She didn't listen. Like, because all these people were on some trust Fauci type vibes. Trust Fauci. And they had bumper stickers, trust Fauci. And people are paying the price now, and it's starting to get worse, actually. We're going to cover that tomorrow, but we're going to come with solutions too. So it's not just covering the lying liars who love to lie and the miscreants who support them. It'll also be, if you did take the vaccine, what you can do to reverse it. And I'll just say quickly, you're going to have to fast for at least 3 to 4 days, a water fast, because you have to induce your body into a thing called autophagy, which will clear up the spike proteins. Then you also take another supplement called nattokinase. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. And those who are interested, you certainly should tune in tomorrow, because we're going to go over the lying liars who like to lie and the miscreants who support them. Without further ado, I'm going to bring in my brother, your brother, the powerful, the indomitable, the unimpeachable Howard Dorsey.
How y'all doing tonight?
I don't think your mic is on, man.
My mic sounds. Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can't hear you. I see you talking, but I can't hear you. It looked like the mic, you muted it, and then it came back on, but something's going on with your mic.
Holy cow.
Oh, you can hear him? Oh, sorry. They say you can hear. And guess what? I didn't have my headphone on. That's my fault.
Can you hear me now?
I absolutely can hear you.
Okay.
That was my fault. I didn't have the headphones on.
I got you.
Okay.
How's
All right.
People
hailing you up, man. People hailing you up in the chat.
All my people.
Yeah.
Peace, brothers, sisters.
Yeah, Eyewitness hailing you up. You know what I mean? It's Brother Genesis.
Okay, how you doing, Genesis?
Yeah, man. We're going to have him on the show, too. Probably next week after he clears up some things from his schedule. Very powerful brother.
Powerful things. He's doing some powerful things.
Oh, yeah. It just so happens, Howard, that we happen to have a group of friends who are superheroes. And you know, the beauty about this show is I get to have them on the show, and everyone can talk what they want to talk about. So she says, I don't think it was necessarily Trust Fauci campaign, but more fear that was spread amongst the masses. Yeah, but they trusted Fauci. Trust me. Yeah, people were scared, but when people are scared, they need a savior. And they thought that Fauci was their savior. They really did. And yep, she says we can hear him. And yep, they can hear him. Everyone can hear him. All right. So let's get into this conversation, man. We're going to chop it up. So we with the coach, the one and only Howard Dorsey. Here's what I wanted to get at. I know you're involved in a lot of things. Get a little background on yourself, man. We're going to chop it up. But what I want to talk about is something that we've coined the Howard Dorsey experience. So for those tuned in and those who got the notice, they might want to know what the Howard Dorsey experience is. And Howard is a brother that I've known for some time. We met in the Virgin Islands when we were both living there. And we've actually gotten to know each other better when we both moved away from the Virgin Islands. And, we have a good mutual friend, which is Jelani Horton. And we've been able to really get to know each other in the last, I'd say, 2-3 years, and really, do some business with each other and help each other advance in what we're doing. And when myself and Brother Kwame were going to West Africa to build a factory, Howard Dorsey said, Heru. I said, what's up, Howard? He said, I'm coming. I said, what do you mean you coming? He said, no, I'm coming. I'm coming with y'all, man. I said, yeah. He said, yeah. Here's the thing is some people talk and say they're going to do something, but in terms of the circle of brothers that were around, when they talk, we take it seriously. So I began to ask Howard. So I said, you've been to Africa before? He said, nope. Is this your first time? He said, yep. I said, Howard, this is the best thing you could do, is to come to Africa with some brothers who already know how to move around in Africa. Instead of a tour by yourself or whatever, come with brothers who's already got some things going on the ground. And Gambia is Brother Kwame's stomping ground. And that's where we went to set up the factory. And we got there. We were there for about 48 hours. Then Howard came and we picked him up from the airport. And life has never been the same, man. We had a great time, man. And it was about 2 years ago or a year and a half ago?
A year and a half, I would say.
Yeah, about a year and a half ago. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about your time. And we didn't just do Gambia. We did Sierra Leone as well. So let's just talk about your background, man, where you coming from, what you involved in. You get into the Virgin Islands, and your vision of going to Africa and finally going, man. Let's just talk about that a little bit. You can start wherever you want to start with it, man. Just make this an informal conversation, man. Just chop it up between brothers.
No doubt. Okay. Yeah, I had a pretty great upbringing. Like I got to like when I lived with my mom in the summers, I was in the projects. So you know what I'm
Say
saying?
what city this was, because we got international listeners.
Right outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And I was actually born in New York. My mom and dad got divorced when I was 6 months old, and my mom moved to Pennsylvania. It took us to Pennsylvania. My dad stayed in New York. So I was living projects in Pennsylvania. My mom, single mom, raising two children, working, things of that nature. Then in the summers, I would go back to New York, and my dad's neighborhood was in Yonkers, New York. And it was a lot of affluent black people there. Like I think one of the vice presidents of the NBA lived on our street. Um, there was some big time doctors, surgeons that lived on our street. So everybody, it was a black neighborhood. And my dad just so happened to have the nicest house in the neighborhood built on a rock. So when kids would identify me, they'd be like, "You're the guy, you live up on that rock on the cliff," because he built it on a cliff, him and my grandfather. And so I was coming back and forth. And so with my father, when it was vacation time, he was like, "Well, where y'all want to go?" And it would be like, "We're going to Puerto Rico." It'd be a Wednesday and we're going to Puerto Rico. We're leaving tomorrow. We pack and we're gone. You know, we drive to Mexico and Winnebago in the summertime and just camp out at KOAs and things of that nature. Um, China, he was going to China. Like we were just up and go places. But when I was with my mom, all our vacations were to one of our relatives' houses. She had 15, well, she got 26 brothers and sisters. So we was always going to one of their houses. And so, I always said I wanted to live on an island when I was a little boy. I always wanted to live on an island. And so when I got the opportunity to go to the Virgin Islands, I was going down with a partner to open up an air ambulance company. It's called AeroMD. They're still flying right now. And so we got some money from some investors, opened it up, got some airplanes, things of that nature. And that's where I met Jelani at. And I was because I went to coach while I was doing that. I was coaching at the University of the Virgin Islands, and Jelani come down and we started doing some work with the youth on the island and things of that nature. And then that's how I met you, because you came up. Jelani had mentioned you, and then you did a symposium on, I think it was cannabis and your olive leaf extract. You
Mm-hmm.
were doing
At
something with
the
that.
University of Virgin Islands, right?
Correct, at the University of Virgin Islands. And I have met some of the people that had different ailments, cancers, and I think one lady's husband had 15-20% kidney function, and he took the olive leaf and so I was having problems, and that's how I called and I met you. It was working for him, and then like I think he came back and he was at 60% kidney function in a month or something like that. So I knew once I met you and got with your products that they would help me as well, and they did. So the Virgin Islands kind of broke me in as far as traveling, because I was kind of nervous about going to the Virgin Islands to travel, to live, because my mom was like, "Don't go there. They'll kill you down there," and things of that nature. Some of the stereotypes that Black people have here about other locations, because they're told by the media that it's not safe to go to certain places. So I went down, and it was beautiful to me. And then once I came back to the States, when the hurricanes hit, that's whenever I got with you, and we were talking about, well, you got to go to Africa with us. And so I had made my mind up to go to Africa, because I always wanted to go to Africa, because my dad always wore dashikis. We had African art in the house. We would go to African museums in New York. We'd go to all the Black plays on Broadway and things of that nature. So he always told us where our power came from, and it was Africa. And he was just
Do me a
proud.
favor, Howard. Can you move the camera so that you have less headspace, because your name is like almost covering your face, your mouth.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, right there is good. Right there is good.
Okay, yeah.
Perfect.
So yeah, he always had African art, and he would just read about different things going on in Africa, and he would kind of tell us the truth as children, what was going on based on what happened in the 60s and 50s, because it's just a microcosm of what they actually did to us in the 50s and 60s, what's going on, in Africa. And so once I made the decision to go, I talked to you guys, and I was just like, "Hey, you guys were like, well, we're leaving on Saturday." I was like, "Let me buy my ticket." I bought my ticket immediately, and then I got on the plane. It took me 14 hours or 15 hours to get to Senegal, and it took y'all 6 hours from New York. So I was kind of
Mhm.
perplexed about that. But when I got
Let me tell you what's so funny. You were there a few days last week. You were Jelani, Tough Lion, and I think Highly Israel, right? And y'all were having dinner. And I guess you told them that we got to Africa in 6 hours. Jelani didn't believe you, so he called me to see you know how Jelani is. Yo, Heru, I have Howard here. He said you get to Africa in 6 hours. That true? He's laughing. And I had to explain to him. So I'm explaining to people that's absolutely true. So to the listeners, listen, we had a flight from New York's JFK to Dakar, Senegal, nonstop. So Dakar, Senegal turns out to be a hub for a lot of West Africa. From Dakar, you can switch planes and fly to Gambia, to Ghana, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Guinea, a couple other places, right? So probably even Cape Verde. So Guinea-Bissau, all that West Africa vibes, you fly from Senegal if you're coming from the States. So we were going to Senegal and then switch planes to Gambia, which is a short flight because Gambia is inside Senegal, really. So our flight was originally 10 hours. It was a 10-hour flight from New York to Senegal, but our flight was delayed 4 hours. So we were supposed to leave at like 11 p.m. and we didn't leave till 3. But when we got on the plane, the pilot said, because we're late, we're going to get you there on time because it's a big exchange hub. And if we miss that flight, we may have to stay overnight or whatever in Senegal, and where the airlines would have to pay for it. So they told us, we're going to get you there in 6 hours. And I'm saying to myself, blood cleat, these people can, I say, yo, these people could actually get us there in 6 hours. Normally, they don't do it. It's an hour flight, but they really can get you there in 6 hours. So this was part of the thing is that Africa is not as far as people think it is. If you're doing a direct flight, literally you can get to Africa in 6 hours from New York City, which was eye-opening to me because all the flights that I've taken, whether I've gone to Ghana, Nigeria, it's always been around 10, 11 hours. Come to know that they weren't flying at their fastest speed in terms of what they really could do. So that was the story that was so fascinating. I remember telling you that story. And then now you're saying the 6 hours to people. I got people calling me trying to double check and fact check. You can really get to Africa in 6 hours? The fact is, yes, you can.
Yeah, that was incredible because I had to fly to Brussels, and that was a 7.5, 8 hour flight. And then I get to Brussels, I get a 3 hour layover, then another 8 hour flight to Senegal. So
and I think what happened with that was you were so gung-ho to get the hell out of America and get to Africa. We didn't have a chance to talk before you booked the ticket. You were like, nah, I'm gonna book this ticket because I was going to tell you, hey, take a direct flight to Senegal so you don't have to do all of this, go through Europe and all of that. But it was too late. Yeah, it was too late. So yeah, continue your story, please.
So I leave Brussels. I'm coming to and while I'm in Brussels, I overhear this conversation of these couple white guys and a brother who I guess was going to guide them around once they got their feet on the ground. And they were talking about how easy it was for them to make moves in Africa, money and power moves in Africa, and how stupid Africans were, and how there was no competition, and that they were going to dominate and take over, and that's what they keep doing. So I was like, wow, this is
you overheard this.
Oh yeah, I was standing right by. They were speaking like, they must have made a whole ton of money that they had the confidence to say these things to a black man. Like for him to like disassociate himself from Africa and join in a conversation, it kind of reminded you of, like how they say that some Africans sold other Africans into slavery, and it seemed like he was on a colonizer mission. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like that's what he was going to do, and he would break off. The white guys would break him off something to make it worth his while for showing them where everything was at while
Yeah,
they were
he
on
was
the mission.
basically their guide, showing the lay of the land to get to the riches, and so
Correct.
they felt comfortable to talk. You know, they didn't care.
Right. Because for me, I look at like no matter where I go, if I see somebody that looks like me, I automatically assume we from Africa. At one point in somebody in your family came from Africa. You may have something else sprinkled in you from other places that you want to acknowledge, but Africa is the true link to for all of us. Period. And that's how I see it when I go places. So I left Brussels, nice flight. I get down into Gambia land,
Mhm.
and I'm coming to get my bag, my backpack, and I'm coming
So,
off the
well,
plane.
hold on. Before you do all that, how old were you when you landed?
How old was I when I landed?
Yeah.
Uh, I felt like I was 80. That's what I felt like. I'm 56. I felt like I was 80.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sun hit me
Mm-hmm.
as I stepped out the plane. It was like somebody wrapped a comforter around me. And as I took a couple steps down the steps, somebody said, "Mr. Dorsey." I looked, I'm like, who knows me in Gambia, And this is a guy, he worked for the airport or the government, and he calls me down. He says, "Come with us." And everybody else is walking to the bus, and I'm going over
Right.
to the like little van limousine type deal. And so they took me around the side of the airport. I'm like, what's going on? I go in, leather couches everywhere, and I guess it's the minister of immigration, or
Mm-hmm.
he comes up to me. He's like, welcome to Gambia. Welcome home, brother. Welcome home." He daps me up, hugs me, takes me over to the counter. He said, "They're going to take care of you." I didn't wait in no lines. They gave me my visa. I think it was a 90-day visa or something for
Mm-hmm.
$60 or $50 or something. I don't know. It might have been 20. And then we do all that. He walks me out, they get my luggage, they carry it out, roll it out. I didn't wait in no lines. And then I get in the lobby, and Heru and Nana Kwame's out there. Like, "Welcome to Gambia, brothers." I
Hell
was
yeah.
ecstatic.
Hell
I
yeah.
was
So,
ecstatic.
all right, walk me through this. When you landed, and you find the reason why I asked how old you were, because it's like 50 something years, and you're finally in Africa,
Yeah,
right? So when you landed, did it feel surreal when you opened the doors and you're like, damn, I'm in Africa?
I'm in Africa, bro. Like I stepped into a movie. Like I jumped in my TV and bam, I'm here. And I just looked and I was like, I just wanted to kiss the ground. Like I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like I just felt this feeling like this is my first time ever being home. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like my grandmother, she was 94 when she passed away, and she was real fair skinned. But she would tell us, she was like, she would say, "We have Irish in us." And I'd be like, "Huh?" And she'd be like, "But don't tell anyone because I'm African and I don't claim nothing else other than my African heritage." So I heard her voice in my head when I was standing there taking in that sun, because the sun seemed like it was bigger than I've ever seen in my life when I got, on the ground there. And then,
Mm.
we it was a lot to take in, but well, anyway, we leave the airport, we get a ride from the airport, and we go to an Airbnb. And it was just seeing all those black people, African people walking around with big fruit baskets on their heads, and their little children with, little things they were selling. Like everybody was an entrepreneur when we stepped on the ground, when we got on the ground and we
Hmm.
saw everything. And then just to see the growth and the construction going on just was like, this is the place to be. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? From a growth standpoint, there's so many opportunities there. It just didn't look like what they was telling me on TV. And
Mm.
then we get to the Airbnb, to the house, and it's a 6 bedroom, 6 bathroom, rooftop lounge where you could just You know, we had a chef. She was cooking the food.
Yep. Big up Fatu, you know?
Yeah,
Big up
Fatu.
Fatu all day long, you know?
Yo, you know it's crazy. Fatu's here on Facebook. She been hitting me up. I talked to her on WhatsApp as well. Like we stay in touch, and you know her children and everything like that. And if we got anything to send over to her, we send it and things of that nature. So there's a lot of relationships that we built with people that you could tell when you met the people that they weren't trying to. The people we met weren't trying to take advantage of you. They just wanted you to be there with them to show them what your expertise is so you could help them build and grow. Like
Right.
that's what I got from being there.
And I think a lot of it too was based on what we were actually doing in the country. We weren't there to be tourists, right?
Right.
We were actually engaged in helping to build the country. And so when people saw that we were doing that, the response to us was a lot different. You know what I mean? Than just guys there being tourists.
Right. Because it
We were
was
putting
more
in
like,
work.
what can we help you with? Like that
Right.
type of introduction. Like, what can we do for you? And
Right.
so when they feel that, it's like, wow, like you're going to help me, my family, my children. So then it becomes, what do you need after, you know what I'm saying? Like what people were saying, they were giving people land for helping them and gold and things of that nature.
Mhm.
And just like with Nana Kwame's farm, we went to Nana Kwame's farm
Right.
and he had a neighbor that his water dried up. So
Hmm.
Kwame let him come to his property and get water for his whole family. Like
Yep.
that was huge right there.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. Absolutely. But
So when you
let's go before we go too much further. Talk to me about your first night and your first morning in Africa. What are you processing when you're waking up? When you're going to bed, and then you wake up and you're like, I'm actually here, because this is a real phenomenon that happens to people. You know, you wake up and you see the sunshine in Africa for the first, because when you came, I believe it was like early evening when
yeah.
you came. And
Mhm.
then, you know, we get to the place, we're chilling, you know, we do our thing, we roll up what we need to roll up. You understand what I'm saying? We do our thing, you know, kick up and talk what we need to talk about. But then you go to bed and you wake up in the morning and you are clear that you're in Africa. What did that feel like, waking up for the first time in Africa?
I mean, when I went to bed, I was like, I'm in Africa. Like I can't believe that I'm in Africa. Like it didn't really register that I'm in Africa, man. Like this is this is something that people they dream about, and I'm here. And so as I fell asleep, the next day I woke up and I was just, I think I cried. I did cry for a while, for a good time. I cried just because just being home for the first time. Like it's the food is for me.
Right.
The sunshine is for me, built for me. I'm supposed to be in this. The people just gave me energy, a certain kind of energy, just seeing our people, and you say that they're lazy and things of that nature, and everyone's hustling from 5 a.m. till
Hmm.
midnight. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I mean, I cried and then I just talked to myself and processed it. And then I think like when we went out to the beach, I think we went to the beach. And once I got in the sun, it was just incredible. Like the next day, my skin started peeling. Like I shed my whole face, my head, my
Hmm.
hands, my feet, everything peeled. Like,
Yeah, you're shutting America off of you.
yo, I was really believing that. I was like, I'm supposed to be here. You know what I'm saying? And then there was this pool that, you know, your family ain't on the same sheet of music. And it's like, well, can I just leave them and come here? You know what I'm saying? Like there was a lot of conflicting, you know, thoughts going through my mind as far as where I need to be. I know I need to be there.
And I know you booked a ticket and you left abruptly, right? Because I mean, when you heard we were going, you made it happen and you left probably, I think, a few weeks later, probably
Yeah, it
2
was
or
a
3
couple
weeks
weeks.
later. So your family, what they just thought they were wondering what was going on.
They didn't know what to think because they've been watching the news. When you're watching TV, you say some
Right.
stupid stuff. Like they were saying stuff like, don't get ate by a lion over there. And you know what I'm saying? And I'm just like,
Right.
they're like, well, you better get your shots. And I was like, we don't get no shots. That ain't how we move. We got herbs. We got the herbs from the earth. So there was no shots because a lot of my friends was calling me like, you better get your shots. Get all of them. We ain't getting none of those, bro. And so it was just, and then the reception from the people, like everybody was super nice to us. And, like they were willing to help us and, what do you need? And things of that nature. And then Kwame being, like we said, Kwame has people on the ground that he's known for years. And it was like everybody he introduced us to was like his family. Like they knew him as if he was their family. Like,
yeah, with a high level of respect,
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Like
he was moving like a field marshal general,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Like,
love to see it.
Amadou, he's on his farm. His father is the chief in that village. And he got his 5 or 6 sons growing on Kwame's land or maintaining everything. And Kwame can call them at any time. Like he's known them his whole life.
Yeah.
So those misconceptions go out the window when people start to talk to me about Africa. And I'm like, you've never been there. So how can you even speak on the subject? You know what I'm saying? From a personal standpoint. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I know you have family telling you, be careful you don't get shot or something like that, right? And they in Philly telling you this.
Yeah, I was checking people.
Yeah.
I was checking people. I was like, yo, bro, I just saw the news. There were 6 people shot down the street from you last night. So how can it's normalized to you? And you're gonna tell me about Africa? I said, look up the statistics on murders over here where I'm at in Gambia. I said, I see 15-year-old boys in the barbershop with their carpet on, with their rug on the ground, their prayer mat on the ground, praying to Allah as soon as the notification comes on, when it's time to do it. So you can't tell me anything about Africa. And when they say black people are just violent and that's why they're shooting each other here in the United States, well, they're not doing it there. So it has to be the programming. It's the music that you listen to. I knew when that game Grand Theft Auto came out in the 90s, maybe, where you just ride around random cities shooting people and jumping in their houses, breaking in, stealing, running people over with cars. I knew that was going to shift our children, you know what I'm saying, on top of the music with all the death in the music and things of that nature. So now, killing each other is normal. But when you go over there, you see them young brothers praying on mats, like doing things in the community and things of that nature, having conversations. So you can't say all black people are violent and things of that nature.
Right. So you wake up that morning. What were your thoughts about America as you're spending more time in Africa? Are you feeling, because this happens to me a lot. Even though I'm from Ghana, I've spent most of my life in America, particularly as a kid. Every time I leave America and go to Africa, I feel a huge weight lifted off of my shoulders. And it's hard to know the amount of stress that we carry being in America, and you don't really realize it until you leave. Did you feel that as well?
I did. I was talking to one of my friends and I told him I felt like there was a weight, like a house lifted off my back that I was carrying. Because when I moved to the Virgin Islands, that's why I left. I was living in Pittsburgh and I had a cop follow me. I made 12 turns. He followed me. He turned 12 times. And then finally I stopped and I was like, what do you want, man? And then I had took one of my players. I had took her to get her hair done in another little town in Pittsburgh. And they got done at like midnight. And we were driving back to my house. And there was a car in back of me. There was like 30 police cars, and they all just converged on me and surrounded us and had their guns drawn through my windshield while I got my player in the car. And I told her, get on the floor. And I heard a cop say, what are we going to do with this black Lexus? What are we going to do with this? Because they was chasing somebody behind me, and I got caught in the middle of all their crossfire. But if somebody would have said, do the wrong thing to me, I could have been killed that night. And so
Right.
the last straw was I was going to the bank on my lunch break, and I was suited up, everything. And the police pulled me over, made me get out my car, sat me on the ground in a suit. And I coached in that city. And a lot of kids and their parents were riding past, like, Coach Dorsey, they got him on the ground. And like, what's going on? They told me that somebody cashed a check at a gas station, and they said I fit the description. But there was 3 people in the car, and the car wasn't even the same kind of car I was driving at that time. So that was the last straw for me. So when I came to the Virgin Islands, I was escaping America. I
Hmm.
was done. I was done here. I got rid of all my clothes. I sold my cars. I gave away everything in my house. I packed everything up and shipped it, and I was gone. I was never coming back. The only time I was going to see snow was on TV. And
Right.
so, and so yeah, so I was done with the United States anyway. When once I met you and the rest of the brothers, I was like, I was looking for another location to live because the Virgin Islands kind of broke me in for not
Right.
living. And not when I got there, all the police officers were black. And when I would drive down the street, when my registration was up, and the police officer said, "Hey man, go down to DMV and get your sticker put on your car when you get a chance."
Right.
They
Right.
would have ripped me out the car. 12 cops would have came. I'd
Right.
have spent some money, things of that nature. They probably would have towed it. So yeah, I was ready to get out of here. And when I got
Mm.
to Africa, it just totally felt at home. And I said I was never going to wear no more colonizers' clothes once I left Africa, and that's why I was looking for designers and things of that nature.
Right. 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 So as you're moving around in Gambia and you're getting used to it, how many days did it take for you to feel like, okay, this is not a dream, I'm not in a movie? You just like settle down with the idea of being in Africa and just like this is life, because I remember times, man, um, when we were sitting down, especially the restaurants at the beach,
Oh yeah,
and I could just see the look on your face, man, like, damn, heaven really exists. I could see it. I mean, I could see that look on your face, just like complete satisfaction.
yeah. I was at home, totally at home. I felt like that I was home. I just felt that way being there. Just the only thing that hurt me about Africa is like the poverty that shouldn't be
Right,
based on the resources. You know what I'm saying? And then when
right,
we went to the one resort we went to, Kunta Kinte Resort, right next to that we went to, and there was a bunch of Euros there from Germany and places like that, and they were just, and there was all black staff, and they were serving those people, and it just rubbed me terrible because I felt like, how are you utilizing our resources to come back to our continent to give our people these small tips and wages to survive off of, and then act like we're inferior because we're not smart enough? Like that just was brewing in my mind when I would be in those situations. You know what I'm saying?
but when I know that a lot of our time there we spent building the factory. Could you talk about how you were feeling in your experience with the whole factory building and the block making and all that?
First, I saw it online because you guys unloaded the brick making machine before I got there, and I was just excited just to be able to go and experience it firsthand. So when I when we pulled up to the factory and I walked in, I was like, wow, this is I'm a part of history right here, man. I was just proud. And then to see the brothers that y'all had, that assembled to actually run things, and they were engaged, and that was their top priority to get this thing done because it was a collaboration between enslaved people in America and colonized people and enslaved people in Africa, and we just came together to for one common goal. And it was their, like the one brother, what's his name, that quit his job working for that lady, and he came over to run the brick making machine.
Linka,
Linka, yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah,
man. He
Linka,
was like a train conductor when he got on top of that he learned that whole system, and it was just he took pride. And then Lamine, he took pride in that, and it just made me, and he brought his sons.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like we was family, and we had met before, but we was just getting back together. That's how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
when we walked over and we saw the brother building houses, pouring the
Yeah.
foundations and building houses like
Yeah.
mansions.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was powerful to me because you don't really see a whole lot of that on this side. It's not
Yeah.
prevalent.
Yeah, man. Um, let's talk about the food, man. When you start eating the African food and the palm oil and the palm nut soup and all of that, man. What food did you like, man? Did you
Uh,
remember the fish? You
I'm gonna
remember?
tell you, when
Yeah.
we went to get the fish, there
when
was there was probably
when we went to the fishing village.
yes, we went to the
Yeah,
fishing village, and there had to be 50,000 people standing on the beach.
I remember you loved that moment. I remember that.
Man, that was so powerful to walk through that market and to see people bartering and negotiating and things of that nature, and then to get down on the beach and there's like 100 boats out there with big nets, and there's people pulling the fish in. There's little
Yeah,
kids grabbing fish out the water with their bare hands. I was like, man, this is incredible. You can't get no fresher than this
right,
anywhere. You know what
right.
I'm saying? Like that was I was like, wow, like this is impressive. Like I was proud for the people, even though they're not being fairly compensated. But that was magnificent for me. And you know what was crazy? I'm walking through the market, and there's this brother and these couple women staring at me. They watched me walk for like 2 minutes. And then I saw him later, and he's like, "Yo, you live in DC?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I know I done seen you in New York or DC a couple times. Maybe, yeah, maybe
Yeah,
on Georgia Avenue. Yeah, in
yeah,
Sankofa. Yeah." So I was meeting brothers from DC and sisters from DC and here in America, which was incredible. And then we,
yeah,
you know,
man.
we get the fish and we go back to the guy and barter. And he, we got 12 red snapper, and I forget what the other fish were. What was the other fish?
I can't even remember, man. I can't remember. If I think hard enough, I remember because I don't eat red snapper.
Yeah, you
So
couldn't eat the red snapper.
yeah, I can't eat red snapper.
There was black snapper. There was black
Yeah, I might
snapper.
have had maybe the black snapper. I think there was another one. There was another one. I can't remember what it was. Oh, there's one they call ladyfish. Remember that one?
Ladyfish. That's it.
Ladyfish.
The
That's what
ladyfish.
it was. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You like that ladyfish too.
I like
I
that.
remember that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And you like the peanut sauce.
Oh yeah, the peanut sauce was popping. I
Yeah,
did like that. I
yeah. The
wasn't a
fish
big
and
Benetton. Was it Benetton?
yeah,
Benetton?
Benetton, right? That's the rice that they have.
That's that
Um,
sauce. That Benetton sauce goes on that rice. They had two different sauces. The peanut.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We were living up. We were eating good, man, and the vegetables and the fruits and the mangoes we would get. It was nice.
Lord, once we started getting the mangoes and the nectarines and the
Yeah,
cashews,
yeah,
and
yeah,
we
yeah,
back
yeah,
in the house,
yeah.
it was
Yeah,
heaven,
yeah.
man.
You remember the mandarin oranges?
Yeah, they were popping.
Yeah, yeah. Those from Morocco.
There was so many mango trees there, like there was no break. When you drove past, every tree was a mango tree that we saw, man. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's one of the things about Gambia is they've got some serious mango trees in that country. Like definitely like 300-year-old trees. I mean, these are huge trees all over the place, you know?
yeah, that was serious.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're laughing about the ladyfish. That's what they call it. They call it ladyfish. But yeah, that fish was good. Oh, do you remember when we went? Do you remember when we went to the seafood? Remember that really really nice hotel on the beach? There was a
Tamara,
seafood all you can eat. All you can
Tamara.
eat. Yes, the tamara. What's it? Tamale, or is it
The
called the
hotel
tamale?
is like Tamara. Yeah, Tamara.
Yeah, it's a tamale. I think it would be good to show people what it looks like because it's actually a legendary hotel, and people don't understand how beautiful. Um, let me see if it's what's it called? Tamale or Tamara?
Yes, Tamale in Gambia.
Hotel Gambia. I want to be able to show people the video because we're not doing it justice. Yeah, Tamala Beach Hotel.
Yeah, Tamala. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I want people to actually see this hotel because this is where we. This is Gambia, you know, and what I want to do is I want to show people they should see an aerial view of it too, because it's absolutely incredible. We you know, we really chilled out. We worked hard during the day, and then at night, you know, we did what we wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? Um, what I want to do is I want to show if they can show maybe a like an air view. Yeah, okay, this might be.
Like a
And it has, yeah, like they have water like all over the place, like in terms of pools, and so I want to be able to show the listeners a good video of it because I need people to understand exactly what we were dealing with. Like we were definitely okay. This might be good. This might be it. Yeah. So Woda Maya has a good video on it. So let me see. Yeah. So all right. So I'm gonna show a video to y'all. Y'all are gonna love this, man. You know, big up to the people tuning in, yo. This is gonna be great for y'all, and it's gonna bring back some memories for Howard too. Because
you know,
we spent some- Yeah, go ahead.
Jelani's brother was there last week or 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's in Gambia.
Yeah.
He's buying some land out by Nanakwame.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. So I'm gonna speed it up just a little bit, and I want people to see this. Let me see where he gets to the aerial views because that's what people need to see in terms of this resort hotel in Gambia. It's very beautiful. Everyone should be proud that something like this exists. So let me see what I can do in terms of sharing it better. Let's see if we can. Yeah, so I'm going to make, and I'm going to speed it up a little bit and take it to some of the spots just so where people can actually see what it looks like. But yeah, this is where we hung out a couple times. And
about this. If anyone tells us that Africa can't develop, they are only trying to put us down. We have to realize that a lot of the wealth in the world is created where we are standing on. This ground is extremely valuable land that we are standing on, this continent of Africa. And if we don't realize it,
that's the
millions
resort.
of people are making so much money on us. We need to start realizing that this is where it is, get together as Africans, and do what other people are doing with our wealth.
Yeah, that's the resort, y'all. What it looks like at night.
If someone ever told me that this hotel belongs to an African, I won't believe it. So I just want to tell you that, first of all, congratulations, and thank you so much for being an African, not an African.
I like that. I saw that on your t-shirt, actually.
Oh, you saw that on
Absolutely.
my t-shirt?
I noticed all the small details always.
Oh, wow. Because I'm trying to tell Africans that it's possible in Africa.
Yes.
My name is Wadamaya, the one and only annoying village boy from Ghana, on a journey to change the narrative and also celebrate African excellence. If I'm here today, standing here with you, I'm here to celebrate you, man.
And I'm here to celebrate you too. Huh?
Tell me your name, who you are, and I mean, what do you do?
I am Malesala, a Gambian.
Okay.
I'm a village boy too, because I come from the ghetto. My family comes from the ghetto in Banjul. Actually, it's an area that is called Half-Die. Why is it called Half-Die? Because there was a pandemic and it killed half of the population.
Oh.
So it's a very historic part of Banjul, but where a lot of migrants who moved into the Gambia went to live, and eventually it actually produced a lot of leaders for this country.
So you are a descendant of a migrant?
I am a descendant of a migrant. My grandfather was from Saint Louis in Senegal.
Oh.
Yes.
So you're born and raised in the Gambia?
Born and raised in the Gambia from a Gambian father. And my mother, she passed away 4 months ago. May Allah grant her the highest Jannah. And she was a wonderful woman. But she was from Suriname. Yes, Suriname in South America.
Whoa.
Yes.
So this is like Caribbean represent.
Yes, absolutely. It's an African Caribbean whole mixture.
Amazing. You ever left the continent?
I have. I actually went to school in the US.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to school and lived in the US for 12 years. And at the completion of my education, I decided to come back to my homeland.
I thought you got all your money that you're supposed to get in the US before you moved in here.
There's something. US ain't giving you no money, my brother.
What do you mean by US is not giving you money?
US only takes money away from you. Haven't you heard that yet?
I don't know. Unless you tell me.
Uncle Sam, haven't you heard of the Uncle Sam phenomenon?
I've never been there. What does the Uncle Sam phenomenon mean?
Uncle Sam gives, but Uncle Sam takes more than he gives.
Listen to that.
Wow, I'm learning that for the first time.
So this is where it is. Our motherland, our fatherland, our homeland, Africa, is where it is. This is where a lot of the wealth of the world actually is made. They come and take what we own and go and make money with it and come and sell it back to us. So we need to start realizing that it's time to make it ourselves here.
Why is that happening then?
Well, we must take some of the blame. We must take some of the blame, but it's time for us to wake up and take responsibility and take charge of our destiny. So this is what brought two Gambians back home. One went to school in the UK. I went to my partner, Omar Jawara. I went to school in America. Okay. We came back home. I studied politics. He is a lawyer. Childhood friends, and we decided to come together, form a partnership, and start business.
Childhood friend, you guys grew up together in the Gambia?
We grew up together, yes. We were basically almost living opposite each other.
But from born and raised in the ghetto, how did you find yourself in America then?
Actually, what happened, our grandfathers, they educated, on my side, he educated his children. My father became successful and managed to be able to afford to send us to go to school in the US. We didn't have a university in Gambia then. Now we do. But then, when I was growing up, we had no university in the Gambia. So the only option we had was to go either to a university in the sub-region or go to study in the States. So I was lucky enough to go to the States. It was a very good experience for me. It exposed me to the world. And I brought back everything I learned back home.
That's really beautiful, man. Let me know, this hotel belongs to you and your friend.
Yes.
How many of these hotels have you built so far?
We have 5 hotels. We own and operate 5 hotels.
Own and operate 5 hotels?
Yes.
And all of them are in the Gambia?
They are all in the Gambia. So basically,
you see how they use water. Out of every of the residences, you open the door and you're looking at a pool. And
we are the leaders in the hotel industry in the country. Before we got into this business, Gambians had just started taking over this industry. We got in the right place, the right time, and eventually we became the biggest hoteliers in the country.
Let me understand. Yeah, what is the inspiration behind you and your friend coming together to say that, you know what, let's build a hotel? What inspired that?
So, he tells more of his story. I would tell anyone, you can look at this in terms of Woda Maya's channel. But I wanted people to see exactly what we were talking about when we talked about, eating out at night and how they have this big seafood, all you can eat there. I mean, it's more than you can eat. They had so much food. It was so ridiculous.
I never saw anything like that. Like
never.
When we went, we walked in and there was a lady with a basket with some numbers in it. And then you had to walk past, there was like 15 or 20 different types of fish. And you had to walk past and pick your fish up and put it in your basket and then take it over to the chef or the cleaner. And then the cleaner would clean it. And then they would take it to the chef. And the chef made a mistake. He mixed Heru's fish up with everybody else's, and there was some red fish in there. You remember that?
Yeah.
He messed it up. Like we didn't tell you to do that, man. We didn't tell you to mix that fish up. You know what I'm saying? You could have ate a piece of that, then we'd have had to go to one of them to one of those hospitals.
No, I don't get sick like that. I would just it ain't like a big allergic response. I just end up with vomit. But it all worked out, It all worked out, man. And I remember that night we sat and we just listened to the ocean, man, and had a nice dinner, man, had some nice pepper sauce with it and just chilled out, you know what I'm saying? So that was a great moment, man. We had a lot of great moments in Gambia, Do you have any other times in Gambia that stuck out to you?
I just had one in my mind and I let it go. Where was we at? Oh, that wasn't Gambia. That wasn't Gambia.
No, we're gonna get to Sierra Leone. Don't worry about that. We're gonna get to that.
I mean, it was just like, for me, it was like I went on vacation with my brothers and we sat in the living room and had conversations about things that we that I have never talked about before. Some of them, you know what I'm saying, and it would just
Right.
kind of opened me up to other experiences, because if I'm looking at things through your eyes, and you be painting pictures when you speak. So so we all engaged and we was just laughing and laughing. And then
Yeah. Mhm.
Kwame's like the scientist, you know what I'm saying? He's one of those methodical
Yeah,
science
yeah.
thinkers. And it was a perfect mesh of personalities and things of that nature. Because there
Yeah,
was no egos. There was no
yeah.
egos.
Nah, we
And the
we just
maid, like,
laughing.
I don't even call her a maid. She's a chef. She did everything. Like,
Yeah,
she
Fatu
washed
was
my
great.
clothes. She
Yeah.
ironed my clothes. They was ready every day. My shoes was clean.
Hmm.
It was
And
just
just let y'all know, it was like an Airbnb, which was like a how many bedrooms was it? But
six.
it was 3 floors with the rooftop patio with couches on it, run by solar, and it was like 6 bedrooms or five
No, it was
bedrooms,
five. Yeah.
and I think like it was like $80 a night, and it was split between 3 of us. So essentially, we're paying about $26 a night to stay in this beautiful house, mansion, really.
Yeah,
And this is the way you move in Africa. Like, it's nice when brothers can all move together, because the other option is that when you're moving separately, now everyone has to book like a hotel room, or if you get an Airbnb, it becomes more expensive for you as an individual. But if you can book a house together and everyone just paying $25 a night to live in a mansion every night, it's a hell of a thing. And the thing is that we made such a great connection with the owner,
yeah.
Fatimata, big up Fatimata, in California. Anytime we're in Gambia, we can stay there.
Right.
If you go to Gambia, all you got to do is ask me for her info, and Fatu can give it to you, or Kwame can give it to you, and you got a big mansion to yourself.
Right.
So, I mean, it was a beautiful thing, man. We woke up like kings every day. We went to sleep like kings every day, and we moved the way we wanted to move. And the beautiful thing was that we were doing business. We were not playing around there. We were literally adding to the economy, hiring people, and engaged in commerce and actually manufacturing, which is, to me, it was my dream come true. It was one of my dreams come true. It was definitely a bucket list experience. And it was something that had to be done in terms of what African men need to do when we touch Africa, is we have to be about that life. And it was so beautiful that you came with us on that journey, man. Like, it'll never be forgotten. Like, this is all,
Yeah.
that's all it's about. That's the only thing that
I think about it all the time. And I think that, like, one of the most
Oh, I think your camera froze.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Your camera froze for a second, but you're back.
Okay. Well, when we went to the bank was a huge moment for me, because we were
Mm.
opening up a business bank account. And then I asked the lady a question, and she was like, "Oh, he would need to fill out the FICA form." And I was like, "FICA? That sounds familiar to me. Like, it's my payroll, like when I was working." And
Mhm.
she was like, "Oh yeah, we got to report this to the United States." I was like, "How are you reporting anything income wise to the United States when I'm trying to free myself from all that? I don't
Right,
need that leash." So I
right,
told her, "Just hold off. You keep that paperwork, because I ain't putting my name on nothing that's going
right,
back to."
right. No, it's because you had a U.S. address and phone number, because they tried to do that with our business as well. But when we gave them a local address and phone number, they didn't need that anymore.
Right. Okay.
So, so you can go to Africa and set up your situation with a clean slate and not have to be attached to, no other country like America. So, yeah, that was, it was important to know and important to see how to do banking in terms of business banking and all of that. So it's like you got a PhD education in terms of doing business in Africa, because you
Oh
saw
yeah.
what it really was. It wasn't hypothetical. You were with us
Right.
every step of the way in terms of hiring employees, equipment, dealing with electricity issues, dealing with this issue, dealing with that issue, dealing with customers, looking at the competition. To remember, we went to see what the competition was
Yeah.
charging in terms of the
Yeah.
blocks and all of that, and
Yeah.
banking and all of that, and seeing how long it took to start a bank account and all of that. Like, you saw everything, which was the greatest education that you could have, because a lot of people talk about doing business in Africa, but you booked a flight. You were there. You were with us every single step of the way, and nobody can tell you nothing. Like there's no courses you have to take. There's nothing you were in the mix. Like we were doing it. You know what I'm saying? So it was like you're seeing it every day. You're seeing the pros, the cons, how things could be better here and there, and you're moving. It was like, to me, I wish that everybody could have the Howard Dorsey experience, because your experience was hands-on in Africa, and you didn't come as just a tourist. You came as a businessman, and you saw one of the biggest moments when we were there. I don't know if this was a big moment for you, was when the government official came to visit us to have a meeting.
I tell that story all the time.
Yeah, you want to tell them?
I mean, I'm gonna tell him, but I'm gonna tell him this one first.
Okay.
We find this guy named Taff, who's one of the largest construction developers in Africa. Like, this dude builds cities. And so we talked to Lamine, our guy who was the president's guard, and we're like, we need to, Harunim's like, we need to meet with Taff and Kwame. And Lamine calls it, oh, Uncle Taff? Yeah, let me call him.
Yeah. So let's just break down who Lamine is. So Lamine, okay, so when you're in Africa and you're moving around, you have to have what you call the man on the ground. Lamine was our man on the ground. Anything we need in Gambia, and this is through Kwame's relationship, anything we need in Gambia, you go to Lamine. Anything. When I mean anything and everything that you need, whatever it is, he'll get it for you. And he'll know who to call to get it. So when we said we need to talk to Taff, who's basically the biggest builder in all of Gambia, he's building cities. He built a city in Nigeria. Like a city. He built a real city, and people can go online. Taff. He started from humble beginning. Turns out that was Lamine's uncle. So we were able to get a special invitation to go look at Taff's operation, where we met with the guy from Nigeria who was his main project manager.
Yeah. So we get there. We meet with the project manager. He just calls us in the office, and like, he sits down with us. These are billionaire type cats.
Yeah.
And he tells us, oh yeah, I'm like, Heru was talking to him about building cisterns. And he was like, oh yeah, that would be something we would like to do with you. If you build the cisterns and things of that nature. He gave us all the insider information. We got to inspect his brick making machines, watch his staff run those huge machines they were running. Taff was on the phone. He called. So it was like, whatever we needed or wanted, Lamine we had another Lamine, they could make it happen. Because Lamine, the driver Lamine, his uncle, he ran the ports. Like, when you import, export things, he runs that. So if you need to ship anything, he's the dude to go through. And you don't have to pay, I guess, the full price. And so the other Lamine, he could, like Heru said, he could get you anything. Like, we needed we needed a jack at the brick factory. And Lamine was like, oh, I'll go to Senegal tonight. I'll go the back way. He said, I'll go the back way. I'll go the back way and won't cross the border, like the border patrol. I'll just go through the jungle. I was like, what?
Yeah, he said, we'll go to Senegal tonight and come back in the morning.
We'll go through the jungle. I was like, yo, I felt like, honestly, I'm gonna tell you, I felt like a superhero over there, bro. Like, anything I needed to do, I could get it done. And then we meet Bakary. Who's my cousin's best friend he lived in Columbus, and his uncle was the old president, Yahya. And so Bak might be running for president. So we invite him over to the house. We're sitting on the roof chilling with a future president. And he built an application, a money app to transfer money throughout the continent of Africa. Like, so we rolling with some super the whole crew of geniuses.
I remember you calling me like, Heru, Bax is here. You got to meet him, man. Y'all got to talk, man. And I was like, all right, I'm coming. Came upstairs and just was really, speaking some ism with Bax. It was great, man. It was great. It was
powerful. And I think people recognize the energy that we moved with. Like we wasn't coming to colonize you. We're not trying to use you. We're trying to add value to everything that y'all are doing. And you're our family. Like this right here. I just got this I just got this in the mail. No, not Heru, but Jelani's brother just brought this back from Gambia. I bought it, and Lamine knew a drum maker.
Of course.
He made the drum for me, funky. Yeah, so I got a drum straight from Africa as well.
Right. And you weren't playing with the clothing either.
No.
Yeah,
Because I wore your size too. I wore your size. So your designer was a Donahoe.
Adenoho,
Yeah, I could fit the same size as you. So that was another thing that was powerful. And then there was a lot of deals when we would go out shopping. Like we'd just be driving and stop, and we would just shop. And you remember that area when we looked at that generator? Was it a generator? When we went to get that generator for the farm, and we had to walk back in the cut, and all the brothers and all them came out to negotiate over that generator that we were taking to the farm for Kwame.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, no matter where we went, we fit right in, and people, the energy that we were presenting, they were comfortable with, and they wanted to do anything for us, which was beautiful. And you would think that it was just about money, but it wasn't, because they're still doing things for us, and we're not even on the ground over there. And anybody I send there, all I do is give them Lamine's phone number, and bam, he's there. Like a genius. So you don't have to do any. Like everybody we introduce is somebody that's solid, that's family, that will take care of you. You know what I'm saying? Even though they don't have. Like when we sent our driver to take one of the workers home, and he said, she had some sons and it was just rough over there, and he didn't know, no electricity in her house, no refrigerator, and when she would come to work, she was on point. Like she did everything. She left her children at home. Her neighbors took care of them during the day. Her neighbors fed them. Her neighbors watched them. The little kids, 4 or 5 years old, was walking to the store a mile away, 2 miles away.
Right.
No problem. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Don't have to worry about kidnapping, shooting, none of that stuff. So it's a totally different energy. It's the energy that we naturally have, because we always give everybody the benefit of the doubt anyway, because we love everybody. You know what I'm saying? And then until they do us dirty, then we got to kind of fall back.
Yeah. And I know Fatu really, really loved us because like anytime we have food and there was like leftover, we'd even like the fish and all that. So you take it home for your kids, and the fruit that we would have and all that. And she couldn't believe it because, she wasn't used to people who aren't from Gambia and people who don't know her, and people who are just like basically like customers of the landlord coming and being so kind and treating her like family. And because of that, she treated us like family. Yeah.
Every time I talk to her, she says, "Tell Rasta and Kwame I said hello. I love you, brother."
Yeah, that's how she called me. That's what she called me, Rasta. Yeah, man. She shouted me on Facebook the other day too, man. So Fatu, big up to Fatu,
Yeah, no doubt. Big up.
Yeah, and she loved it because we just treated her great. You know what I'm saying? And I think she didn't know how we were gonna act, like, you know what I'm saying? But we were just cool, down home people and just like to just, roll up our thing and just sit on the porch and chill and hold the vibes, and we weren't even very demanding of her. And she loved to cook for us. It was just beautiful. It was beautiful.
She was asking us, what do you need? You need anything? And she would barter for us when she would go to the grocery store or to the
she'd go to the market. Yeah.
Market. She would get the lowest prices, because some people do look at us like, well, you got it.
Yeah.
You can pay extra. But we like, we just here to add value to what y'all doing. We will pay extra, but don't ride us. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes that can be a little stressful when someone's just always in your face, like boom, boom, boom. Hey, give me something. Hey,
Yeah, absolutely, man. You want to tell them about the government official came to the house? He didn't even want us to come to his office. He thought we were too important. He should come visit us, right?
Yeah. I was upstairs, and he probably came at like noon.
Yeah.
He came in all suited up, and he was very open to what we had to say, and he wanted to collaborate. Definitely.
Absolutely. And this is what, I'm glad that Howard is on to corroborate what I'm saying, because I've told the audience that a lot of these government officials in these African countries, and this is what the brother said when he came to visit us, the government official, is we want more of the brothers and sisters from the diaspora coming. We have all of these infrastructure projects, and other people are getting the bids because not enough of us are applying for it, and they would like to be able to give that infrastructure development money to us. So he was encouraging us to come and do more in any way that they can facilitate what we're doing. Please, let's make it happen. So I love that conversation.
Yeah, that was huge. Definitely. Because like when you look at the school system over there, they don't have pencils, like they don't have laptops. Every child doesn't have a laptop. They don't have
Right.
AC building.
So
So
Gambia is a relatively poor country. And it's really just starting to develop, like in a sense, like you saw the roads being developed, and most of the roads are just basically laterite. It's laterite all over the country, right? Which is the red clay soil. But it's a huge opportunity for those who actually want to be involved in construction and building the country, because like Howard was saying, when the brother came, he was like open to all ideas, and he was just happy that it was just brothers from the diaspora coming to do business.
Right. Exactly.
Because what he's used to seeing is those cats who you saw in Brussels.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's who he's used to seeing.
The vultures.
Yeah. That's who he's used to seeing. But then he saw the work that we were doing, and he was so moved that, you all are doing this, and you all can do this, and you all what surprised him? That we already had set up the factory by the time we met him. He couldn't believe it. He thought that we were kind of waiting on him to set up everything, to meet him first before we started moving. But we'd been there for like maybe 2-3 weeks before we even saw him. And during that time, the factory was already set up and running.
Right.
I think that's what really moved him, is that he was shocked that we were there for 2-3 weeks already and already set up the factory.
Right. And all we needed was resources from him as far as vehicles to trucks.
Yeah, so heavy equipment and trucks and stuff to do, bigger projects. So yeah, we're going to revisit all of that, because I definitely want to touch back into Gambia. But now let's talk about the twist in your time when things got lit. Sierra Leone. Let's talk about Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone.
Sierra Leone just sounds sexy. You know what I'm saying? We get ready for Sierra Leone.
Oh man.
We hit the airport.
Sierra Leone just took you by surprise, huh?
I loved Sierra Leone. I did. It was I mean, I
was a
love
hell of a
Gambia,
time.
but it was a totally different flavor.
It's a different vibe. Sierra Leone is like, Gambia is like a ghost town. Sierra Leone is like, it's like Gambia on steroids in so many different ways. You know what I'm saying? So let's talk. I told people this. Let's talk about when you land at Sierra Leone and you got to take a boat.
Okay, so for me,
talk about that.
First of all, inside of me, what I'm thinking when I'm flying from country to country, once you get in the airport, there's like 100 people that work for the airport, or some source, like you got to pay your fee to get in, your security fee or whatever, $25, and somebody else. So when we got to Sierra Leone, 30 people just bum rushed us, like, come this way, come this way. I was like, yo, hold up. Let me take your bag. Let me carry. Like, you got to go over here and get your money. You can't leave. And so I was kind of nervous about the visa thing, but then they're just aggressive because they want to get that tip. So we get out and we get in a van. One of brother Dr. Biko, he sent one of his guys to get us. Yeah. He comes over and he tells us everything we need to do. We get on the bus. I'm like, all right, we on a bus. And we pull up to this dock.
And shout out to Dr. Biko, shout out to Dr. Biko.
Shout out, big up Dr. Biko. Yes, shout out. Yes. So we get there, and they drop us off. And so I see this long dock going out into the water. I'm like, what we about to do? So a boat pulls up, and you got to go out like 100 yards to meet the boat on the dock. And you're walking on these sticks. They look like some sticks and some boards underneath your feet, and they freaking. As you're walking, I'm like, oh snap! So we get down to the boat, and we get in, and there's a brother driving this speedboat. It's like a speedboat. They go, no, what we about to do? Boat rocking.
It's wild. It's wild.
Yo.
It's absolutely wild. I was like, I feel like I'm on Miami Vice here, yo. And what was so crazy is I'm sitting there with my two brethren, and we're just there, and I'm like, yo, this is like a movie, yo. Like, we really have to take a boat to go to the mainland. We sat on the boat for like half an hour, and it's just jumping up and down the waves. You know what I'm saying?
Waves.
Yeah, and it's everyone has to do this. Everyone who lands in Sierra Leone, you want to go to Freetown, you pretty much have to. You can drive around the water, but it's going to take you several hours to do so. So you've got to pretty much hop on the boat, and the only two choices you have is the ferry or the speedboat. And of course, we took the speedboat. We weren't going to wait for the ferry. You understand?
Yeah, but the most beautiful thing about that ride was we're hitting those waves, and boom, we see them black captains up there riding, we're driving the boat. And as we get halfway or a little over halfway, Freetown just comes up out the water. It's like an episode of Batman or something. Like you just see the whole Freetown.
Yeah, it looked like it was like it literally was like Wakanda.
Yeah.
Right? Like when Wakanda just appears, right? Because you're driving on the water, you can't see nothing. You get closer and closer, you start seeing the city. And you start seeing all these buildings, and you start seeing, and you're like, damn. And it looks beautiful because we landed. It's a good thing we didn't land at night, Howard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't land at night, because I'd have felt away on the speedboat in the middle of the night. You can't see nothing. But it was daytime, and we could see everything, and it was bright. You could see the waters, and you could see, I mean, you literally were on the ocean on a speedboat with your luggage.
Bro, I felt like we was like superheroes going in to save some people. That was the most impactful ride ever.
Crazy. That was crazy. Yeah, that was crazy. So we get to Sierra Leone. We get to Freetown. What's your impressions?
Soon as we pull into the get off the boat, we get into Freetown. The first place we stayed at. You remember the first place we was going?
Yeah. You see, that's exactly what we're talking about. When you're paying separately for hotel rooms, or you put your money together and get a nice place like an Airbnb.
Yeah. So we stayed at a hotel, and we go in, and I'm like, it's in the middle of the city, and I'm like, oh wow. And so we get our keys. Everything's real small. It's like an old building everything was cramped and tight. We get our keys, we go up to our rooms, and I went to my rooms on the ground. I had gnats in my room and flies on the bed and blood stains. And I was like, yo, we gotta get out of here. We gotta get out of here.
Right.
And so I forget, where did we go after that?
We got an Airbnb. We got a mansion. We rented that's the place where we stayed, which was actually, which Airbnb did you like better? The one in Gambia or the one in Sierra Leone? The one in Sierra Leone was nice, but the only thing is it didn't have the up top roof, where we could chill.
If it would have had the roof, I would have preferred that one. But no roof. I preferred the roof in Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
But the house had 2 living rooms, and it was just incredible. And there we had a butler, and this dude was bad, man. Like, he washed my clothes by hand, bro. Like, there wasn't when I put them on, they felt totally different than when I bought them. Like, this dude scrubbed my clothes. I mean, it was just, everything was there prepared for you. It was incredible.
Yeah, and we paid like $25 each.
Yeah, $25.
It wasn't expensive at all. And then we had Biko. He had the vehicle. If you were to describe to people, well, there's some questions that were asked. Sierra Leone beaches or Gambia beaches. What do you like better?
Sierra Leone. I like Sierra Leone's beaches better.
You know what I didn't like about Sierra Leone beaches?
What?
When you walked, you would sink in the sand.
Oh yeah. That was definitely a burner on the beach.
I've never had that experience of walking and literally sinking like half a foot into the sand.
Yeah, that was tough.
Every step that you take. So that was kind of weird for me. Like I never experienced that, but the water is beautiful and pristine. And Gambia has some nice beaches too.
Oh yeah, they did.
Yeah, Gambia had some real. Remember we walked the beaches at night when we did that long walk?
Yeah. Yeah, we walked from the house to the beach, and it was just incredible. Only now, one night in Gambia, we went out. Well, I don't know where we went. We went out, and Heru and Nana Kwame, they just want to go. They want to walk home. And I'm like, yo, we like 6 miles from the crib, bro. We was like 2 miles from home. And I'm
right.
And I was like, we should have got a cab. So we're out there walking, bro. We get about a mile up the beach. And we hear this pack of dogs barking, and I'm like, you know them dogs barking? I was like, oh Lord, if we get out here,
just to set the scene, it's like 2 a.m. It's like 2 a.m. It's like real late at night, so we don't know what's about to happen. But it's like, hey, we live in life, you know?
Yeah, it was lovely. But anyway, back to Sierra Leone.
Yeah,
the beaches were beautiful. And then we went down to some restaurants. They got like a restaurant row.
Yeah, on the beach. Yeah.
And we found a restaurant that made.
We found our favorite. Snapper. Yeah, our favorite one.
Smoked red snapper and some.
Yeah.
What was that? What the crane?
Yeah, crane. Yeah, that's the greens. That's like it's like a almost like spinach, but it's like probably it's like the leaves of cocoa yam. In a sense, and that was incredible. It's incredible. I found the food in Sierra Leone closer to the food in Ghana. You know,
so I like the food in Sierra Leone better.
I liked it better than the food in Gambia, even though the food in Gambia we were eating was high level food, but it seemed to have less variety in Gambia as compared to Sierra Leone. You know, and I think I like the way they cook their fish better in Sierra Leone. Right. I like the way that they treated pepper a little bit better too in Sierra Leone.
That was nice. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. So,
and then who was it? We had Hawa. Hawa was
that was our waitress. Yeah, real cool. Hawa.
She cooked the food too. Yeah.
She was the cook too.
Yeah.
And every time we go to the restaurant, she's just happy to see us, you know?
Yeah, smiling. She always says hello to everybody too, because she'll send me messages on WhatsApp. And
okay, you still talk to Hawa?
Yeah. Because the Chinese had came in, and I guess they were going to do something, and the government gave them that land on that beachfront, and so all the restaurant owners were protesting, and they were trying to get them out, and they wouldn't leave, so they never left. So the government is doing something to allow Howard and them to stay there and keep their restaurant open. So she sent me a video.
Yeah. So So talk about the difference between Gambia and Sierra Leone, from like any differences that you can bring up.
The number one difference for me, because I'm single, is the number one difference was the women. Like the women were different in Sierra Leone than Gambia. Like the women in Gambia were more covered up because it's the Muslim culture. They were more covered up. And then the women in Sierra Leone, they weren't as covered up. And there were some very beautiful women in Sierra Leone. And it was real hilly in Sierra Leone. So I attributed their strong legs and assets
and shapeliness. I mean, and this is a real thing. It's a real thing that like mountainous islands and mountainous places tend to have more shapely women, whereas flat lands don't, because it doesn't provoke that type of exercise. I mean, you can see it is very clear. It was very clear. The women in Sierra Leone are extremely shapely. Very beautiful women there. And what I couldn't get over in Freetown was how many people were there.
Yeah. Like when we were in like that traffic circle,
Oh
There's like
my
a
goodness.
there's like a traffic circle, and there's people all the way around the traffic circle on the sidewalks and just on the exterior, and they're all selling something, some fish, some corn, some, I don't know, like everything, mangoes, they're selling everything. And then you can exchange money. On the left, there's a bunch of guys with big bags of money where you exchange your, your dollars for, or for their money. And we were walking to get money, and there was so many people. It was like you had a football stadium right in the middle of it. And I'm walking, following Kwame, and I forget what the other young lady's name from Burkina Faso. No, where was she from? Biko's assistant.
She's from Guinea.
Guinea,
She's from
Bissau.
Guinea. Yeah,
And they're
yeah.
walking fast, and I'm looking at everybody, and I took my
I forget
eye
her
off
name.
them.
What was her name? She was real cool. I forgot her name, man.
Forget her
She's
name.
real cool. She loved hanging out with us too. She was real
knew how
cool.
to
Very
barter.
helpful.
Bartered everything firmly.
Yeah,
Like, this is what
yeah.
we're paying. We're not paying
Yeah.
that.
She cooked very well too.
And so we're
Very
coming
cool.
back around the traffic circle, and there's like there has to be 20,000 KKs, those little motorcycles with the seats on the back, the little cart thing on the back. And I'm walking behind them, and I took my eye, I saw something, and I looked back around, and Kwame and her was gone. And I'm standing in the middle of traffic about to get ran over, and people just rolling past me. And then I saw them up ahead. I jogged through it. But there was so many people, there's no traffic lights. They just drive, like no rules. And one thing that they burn a lot over there, they burn their trash. That was one negative for me for Sierra Leone. That was one of the negatives, because I wouldn't have wanted to smell nothing burning all day.
Right. So you definitely wouldn't like Lagos. That's all they do at night is burn trash at night in Lagos. Yeah. I mean, I call it the Lagos smell. Like if I'm in Lagos and I don't smell it, I don't think I'm in Lagos.
Right.
There's a smell that goes along with it, and you get used to it. And in some ways, I kind of miss it. Like I know it. Like I just know it. Like it just reminds me of Africa, like Lagos, because. So imagine Freetown, Sierra Leone times 100, and that's what Lagos is.
That's crazy.
Lagos is a crazy, crazy place, man. But Freetown is a crazy place too. Like, it's just unreal. But the people were so cool. You remember all of the people who was meeting by the beach, and the brothers, a lot of the brothers from the States. Who came. And remember Chief Fode gave us the history lesson and all that, man. It was a great time, man. Sierra Leone.
That was impressive to me. Like Fode being from is he Chicago?
No, I think he came from around you, Pennsylvania, because you all knew some things in common. He came from around your area somewhere. I think he's from that area. New Jersey, Pennsylvania area. He knew some places that you've been. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was just Sierra Leone was just, and so for people to know, we went to Sierra Leone to really do business, to meet with the head of Finnick, who's a manufacturer of certain types of equipment, particularly block making machines. And so we looked to see if we could source block making machines from him, and also be engaged in stepping up his business with more modern engineering and using computer programming and all this. So we had some great meetings with him. So we really, we traveled for business. We ended up actually making like lifelong friendships, and really getting to know the country, because we drove around a lot.
Right.
We didn't just stay in one place. We were moving and shaking in Freetown, man. And then we would drive into the countryside, and it was a great time. But Sierra Leone is not for the faint of heart. Freetown is not for the faint of heart, man. Like, would you drive there?
Me? I would drive there. I would drive there. Definitely.
After how long?
I would drive. I was going to drive Biko's car, but
really,
when the brakes was subject, I was let me chill out. Now, do we tell that story or no?
Yeah, you can tell the story.
Okay.
That's the craziest. It's crazy. We had some crazy times, man. The shit was hilarious.
We were, Dr. Biko picked us up. he has a farm in Sierra Leone, 25 acres, I think it is, or 32 acres. Well, he picked us up, and the vehicle that he bought it was an older vehicle and it needed some work. And I think the brakes was one of the things that needed some work.
Right.
And so we're driving and we're going to the guy who was going to fix his car. And so we're driving through all that traffic and we go up this hill. We're going up the hill. We're looking. We're all, happy. Like there's so many beautiful people out here. And so Biko pulls in and parks. And the guy who's supposed to fix his car comes out and they talk or whatever. And they tell Biko to move his car. We all got out and was just standing watching the sights. It was incredible. Like there was thousands of KKs going up and down the street, motorcycles, people walking up and down the street like it was carnival or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So we're just standing there observing.
Regular day. It's a regular day in Freetown.
Yeah, we're looking up at the mountains. The mountains were incredible. Like when you looked across the street and you could see those mountains and the rocks and it looked like
the topography is very exactly. Yep. It's a beautiful country. It's a beautiful country.
Magnificent. And so Biko goes to move the truck, the SUV, and he puts it in reverse and the brakes ain't working. He comes straight into the street and we're all standing on the side of the road.
And we're watching in slow motion, like what is about to happen.
There was like 12 KKs coming down as soon as Biko lost control of them brakes. And dude on the back of a motorcycle hit Biko and glanced off of him and went across the street, shot across the street. And I think a KK wrecked or something like that too. And it was mass hysteria. People was looking at us like we were driving. You know, like it was our fault. Like, no, we ain't driving.
The thing, and the thing is the accident could have been so much worse.
Yeah.
That could have been so much worse. Like when it happened was the perfect time because the guy who, with the motorcycle, it's not like he was really hurt or anything like that. But could you imagine, because it was two-way traffic in opposite directions. Could you imagine if the brakes stopped working, the car just went into the road when there was serious traffic coming? I mean, it would have been it would have been serious. But the craziest thing was the guy on the motorcycle, he was staying on the ground longer than remember the woman who walked up to him out of nowhere and started just yanking his arm?
His leg. She was pulling his leg. She was trying to get it off. No, she was yanking his leg like it's jammed. We need to unjam it. She was pulling it. He was trying to get her off of him. Yeah, man.
It was the craziest thing I've seen in my life, yo. She wouldn't stop yanking this man's leg. And you could tell he was like, stop. And she just wouldn't stop yanking. I don't know if she was trying to help. I don't know what she was doing.
She thought it was jammed and she was going to unjam it. And that's why she was
man, it was the craziest thing I've seen, man. It was just absolutely. And then so we got in an accident the first day. The second day was an accident. He got into accident like 3 days in a row. And we were like, damn, it was like we're averaging an accident a day. And that's why I was like, yo, I can't drive in no Freetown, man. Like, it's a different type of driving. Like
it is. You got to be fully engaged if you're going to drive in free. Well, especially I won't drive in Freetown because when we was going through them cities, those roads were so tight and there was you remember? Oh, when Biko was driving and that man walked in between our SUV and a van, and when he got caught in between of them. He was sandwiched in between, and the two cars were rubbing him in a circle. He was just missed him. Yeah, man. Yeah, so that was serious. That definitely was serious. But the biggest thing for me was when we went out to Biko's farm, because he kept saying it's not that far. It was an hour and 2 hour drive. It was. And then as we went, the land was so beautiful. Like we drove for hours and just saw nothing but beautiful land.
You got to see a good cross section of the country.
And the mangoes were ripe in Sierra Leone, so we got some really nice mangoes as we went out. Yeah. And then the bridge was washed out, and we had to go around or something like that. That was incredible for me, going into a village, seeing that. And then once we get into the village, the woman that came to the house, walking to the house with a goose? Was it a chicken?
It was a chicken. It was a chicken.
It was a chicken. She's holding that chicken like this with, in her fist. And so I guess Dr. Biko ran over her goose or chicken. He wanted coffee.
Allegedly. Yeah, allegedly.
And she brought it to the house the next day. Like,
Yeah.
You need to take care of this. And Biko's assistant
Right.
translated. And so Biko's like, I'm not going to do it. They're thinking I'm a wallet or something over here. And I was like, Biko, how
Right.
much does it cost to replace the chicken, bro? He said, $2, $3. I said, you could buy a 6-pack of chickens, man. Come on. He's like, it's not the point. It's not the
These are the
principle.
principle. Yeah. Yeah, that's the village
Yeah.
politics, you know? The
Yeah.
village
So we get
politics,
to
the
Biko's.
African politics.
We get to Biko and we're on this 32 acres, and he's telling me you could build whatever you want here. You want to build a house here, it's yours. You
Yeah.
build it, you on the land. Anybody, any of the brothers come over, you want to build here, you can do it. So just to see brothers that are in a great position to go over and acquire land and do things like that, and for them to offer you to build a house for you and your family to come over there and stay meant a lot to me. You know what I'm saying? Like it
You
it
freezing up a
meant
little.
oh, my froze or Heru.
No, you're good now. You're good. You're good now. You're good. You're good.
Yeah, it meant a lot to me to be in that position. You know what I'm saying? And then to learn
Yeah.
that when you come into a new village, you need to meet with the chief and have a party or a dinner for them for the village, and have them bless your land with a chicken, a bloody chicken. They go and they do that thing, and for him, for that not to happen, to see that the relationships wasn't what they supposed to be, because if you perform the ceremonies that are African ceremonies to let people know who you really are, then they embrace you. But if you don't, you will get some problems. You know,
Mhm.
that's what I saw. Because tell him about whenever we were walking out, and he was taking us on that tour of the village to go see the fishing, where they fish at and all that. And we were walking. You don't remember we was walking out, and as we were walking out,
You know, in Biko's village, I think you froze up a little bit, Howard.
okay. Can you hear me? Am I back?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah. We were walking out, and like a group of guys had machetes, and they were walking behind us as we walked out into this path.
Mhm.
And then another group of guys on the left was coming down the path. There was like 10 of them and 10 guys with machetes. And then another group came, and I was like, well, what are the chances that all these guys are walking through here at this same time? And some of these brothers just carry machetes. So I'm getting kind of nervous because we don't have no weapons or nothing. And Kwame says to me, he's like, yo, I'm going to ask him for his machete. Watch, I'm going to ask him. So the one brother came over, and Kwame's like, oh, let me see that machete. And he said, the kid said, he handed it to him. And Kwame's like, oh, this is high quality steel. And he said, I just wanted to see if he would give me the machete. So then that way we
Right.
knew there was no conflict with
Right.
Dr. Biko running over a chicken or something like that.
Right.
And so we all talked, Dr. Biko, because they look at him as an elder, because he is, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And
He's done a lot for the village.
yeah, he's done a tremendous amount. And for a brother to go over there and have moringa trees and like a farm on 32 acres of land in a village that he didn't have to go to, he could have went to one closer to the city.
Yep.
And it was just, it was incredible. Like we saw, like when we rode through, we saw when we was walking through, we saw houses with no windows, mud huts, families with babies and mothers sitting out on the front stoop. Just
Yeah. So he's an asset. He's an asset to the village. You know, it's just that. It's just that. Okay. There's some questions there. Is Biko married? No, actually, Biko's from Trinidad, and he lives in Washington D.C. But he basically Sierra Leone is like his second home. He just loves Sierra Leone, and so he's been going there for the last 20-something years, you know. Let's see. Some people are asking some questions, Howard. So I just want to make sure we address them. I think when we were talking about the whole banking and setting up business, was it seamless? It was pretty seamless. It's just that the banks were kind of antiquated in terms of filling out paperwork. It still was kind of manual. They didn't have anything you could just do online real quick. So from the beginning to the end of us getting our business bank account, it probably took about 3 hours.
yeah.
From the beginning to end, and that it wasn't necessary for it to take that long.
But I mean,
and then
it's like the VI. The VI is the same way.
yeah, the VI is terrible as well.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
Virgin
what it is.
Islands is terrible as well. The next question: what other business ideas do you think would work in Gambia, Howard, based on what you saw as a Westerner? And I think what you could do is answer it for Sierra Leone as well, if you saw different ideas for Sierra Leone versus Gambia, or if both of them are the same to you in terms of business.
I mean, the one that jumps out at you is like construction first, because there's so much land there that if you can secure some land and start, you could sell houses based off of pre-order, you know what I'm saying? And then have people pay deposits and you can get a construction crew. I would think that's a no-brainer for one. And then I don't want to give up a secret, but cisterns is
No, it's not a secret because cisterns. Everyone should be doing cisterns. I mean, I can't do it by myself.
right.
You know what I mean? Like the whole continent needs cisterns. So yeah, that's a great point. Like anyone who wants to do construction to build cisterns, it's $1 million business because the rainfall is very great and cisterns are needed very much
Right. And,
so.
and the price point could sustain you versus something like bricks are only how much a brick in their currency, like in
I
dollars,
don't
what would it be equivalent to?
I don't remember, I don't want to misquote it. I have my notes somewhere in terms of the price of the bricks, in terms of the wholesale and then retail prices for bricks. So I
Right.
don't, bricks is a business, but at the end of the day, when you're doing cisterns, you're selling a finished product. So
Correct.
there's a bigger price, there's a bigger price point there in terms of spread of profit. So and cisterns are more functional. So and it serves a great, great, great purpose in terms of people having water. So yeah, cistern business is a great business. Construction's great as
Trucking,
well.
I would say trucking.
Trucking, right?
And then there's a lot of guys that buy taxis and they place them in Gambia and then they'll do a deal with the driver and split the profits with him, pay the driver. That's some passive
Right.
type income.
Right. Like remember the other Lamine was telling us that we could send him cars from the US
Yeah.
and he could sell them or rent them out as taxis and all of that. So that's another
Yeah.
business as well.
Also old iPhones, like nines, series nines, and they buy those. Like they
Right.
pay nice money for those.
Yep. Yes, I saw that as well. And then also, what you do in terms of sports, like basketball is becoming a big thing on the continent as well. So people who are engaged in some type of sporting activity, there's a lot of stadiums being built right now. There's a lot of leagues being developed. So there's a lot of money in athletics right now in Africa as well.
Right. I just talked to a brother last week that has an office in Accra and he shipped over enough football equipment, helmets, shoulder pads. He's doing American football camps in Gambia in Ghana now.
Okay, cool. There's a comment. Kashaku says black men here could restore their honor and greatness by going to developing countries and start businesses instead of crying that Africans don't like them. Bingo. Exactly. Because it's not true. That's
Right.
just and you saw that. Like I don't think there was one day that you were in Africa where you felt Africans didn't like you.
No, like people would come up to me like we the same, brother, welcome home. Like that's what everybody said, welcome home. That's what they were saying to me. Like so, yeah, it felt really good. I felt welcomed, and I'll go back, and I have a network of people on the ground that will take care of me when I get there. So I'm totally comfortable there, and I didn't have to worry about a police officer pulling me over, making me sit on the ground, and all that type of craziness.
Right. And she asked Sierra Leonean women more than Rwandan women. Well, Howard hasn't been there, although he
They try
has
to get
sent
get
out
us.
some pictures.
Yeah.
But I can make commentary, skilled commentary as a connoisseur. Um, I think that shapeliness wise, I think probably whew, hmm, that's a tough one. Rwandan women are very shapely. Sierra Leonean women are very shapely. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I think that per square meter, you probably Rwanda might win, because I saw some beauty in Rwanda that was just incredible. Um, you know, and the thing too is that the Rwandan women tend to wear their natural hair.
Yeah, that
They
was
tend
one
to
thing
wear
that
their
caught
natural hair.
in Gambia. There's a lot of weaves.
Yep, a lot of weaves, and you saw some weaves in Sierra Leone as well. Maybe not as much. What did you see in Sierra Leone? Did you see a lot of weaves there?
I didn't.
Straighten
I didn't
hair?
see. I don't. Well, you know, when we was at where Biko was getting his truck fixed, there was a beauty shop in there, and there was a
Yeah,
bunch
yeah,
of
yeah. We saw,
they
yeah,
were.
saw a lot of weaves and stuff like that. Yeah. But in Rwanda, you don't see that as much. You see women with natural hair. So you see a lot of natural beauty in Rwanda. Very, very devastating natural beauty that you'll see like every other minute.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know if Sierra Leone was that, but it was definitely a stark difference between Gambia and Sierra Leone. You know, from a man's point of view, it definitely was. It was a stark difference.
Yeah.
So, and I think you noticed that right away. So, yeah, Sierra Leone definitely is lit. It's definitely lit. If you had to live in Gambia or Sierra Leone, where would you live? Let's say you had the best place in Gambia to live and the best place in Sierra Leone to live. Which one would you choose?
Uh, Gambia.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you say Sierra Leone. Why is that?
Because there was some places like where Bakary lived at further north that was like I saw video on it and it was totally different up there. Like it was, and I think that if I could live up that way, I could do business in Senegambia around that way. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And the like Lamine just sent me a video the other day. Those roads are done where we were walking across.
Oh, they're finished now.
Turntables done. Like you can get to the airport in 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've seen all the
Okay, so all the laterite is covered up.
no, the side roads still have some laterite, but the
Okay,
main
but the main roads are done.
main roads up. So
Oh, okay, all the way to to like Senegambia Highway to
yeah,
the airport
it connects now.
from like
Yeah,
Turntable.
yeah.
Okay.
From up above turntable going towards Solomon's and all that
Hmm.
down, it's all connected now. It's
That's all
all
connected now.
highway. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's different. I think in Sierra Leone, I think it was more struggle in Sierra Leone, and it was because I talked to some people and they were like, "Well, when the war came, the people from the mountains and country stayed in the city, and that's why there's so many people on top of each other here. They never went back. So
Yeah,
I think
Sierra
that
Leone,
caused
Freetown is crowded, very
yeah,
crowded.
that's from the people that when the war was out in the bush, they left the bush and came to the city, and that's why all those people are on top of each other in Freetown. So
I
yeah,
think
I
that
think
I don't know. Sierra Leone got vibes though.
we
Sierra
could
Leone
fly
got
in, we could fly
vibes.
in and fly back home. I mean,
That's true. That's
we can go
true.
anywhere. We
That's
can
true. In
stay.
terms of no, but in terms of like a calm, peaceful, quiet place where you just want to chill, definitely I think Gambia. I think
Yeah,
Gambia, but Sierra Leone, what I like about Sierra Leone is the topography is really beautiful. The place is really beautiful. Like you have beaches and you have mountains and you have, you
yeah,
know,
you're right.
um, I don't know. I felt like the people were a little bit more lively in
You
Sierra
said
Leone.
Sierra Leone's more lively from
Yeah, I
what I
thought the
saw.
people were more lively. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Let's
they
put it
were.
this
Now,
way. Let's put it this way. If I was in my 20s, I would pick Sierra Leone. Like as a young man, I would pick Sierra Leone. But if I want a place that's quiet and I just want to have a serene life, I probably so let's just say a house on the beach in Freetown or a house on the beach in Gambia, in Senegambia or Banjul or any. I probably would choose a house on the beach in Gambia.
if I could have a house on the beach, then I would go to Sierra Leone.
You'd go to Sierra Leone.
House on the Beach, because I did like that beach action that we saw in Sierra Leone, where
That's some
when we looked at
beautiful
those
beaches.
problems.
Yeah,
That area was really nice. It was beautiful.
yeah,
And then you got you got a little flavor over there with the clubs and on that strip if you want to go over there and get some
yeah,
nightlife or something like that. But
yeah,
they have that in Gambia too. So I don't know,
yeah. I
man.
guess
Like,
they did. Okay, but here's the thing that they had in Gambia that I didn't like, which I don't like to see, and I didn't want to see, and I didn't see that in Sierra Leone. There were too many elderly European women getting their thing off and
yeah,
on with Gambian young men that just looked so ridiculous and so crazy. Anytime you went to a restaurant on the beach and you like just trying to sit and chill, you literally would see 80-year-old dried up European women with 25-year-old young fit men, like that's their boyfriend or husband, or not even husband, it's not their husband, but like just to see that going on was just really weird, because I understand why the men are doing it for economic reasons.
yeah.
But I just can't. Like, I understand, like, every now and then a brother will take one for the team, but that's too much, man. That's just too much. That's like, that's too much. That's I mean, what we saw, it was every day.
Yeah.
And it was all over the place.
They marry those people. They get married. They marry them. They stay with them because it's an income, like you said. That's all.
Yeah, but here's the thing. There has to be a rule with these elderly European women walking around in bikinis. Please stop.
Where do we stay at? Where do we stay at?
Oh
Who
my
is it?
God. Yeah,
That
I
was
didn't see that in
crazy.
Sierra Leone. I saw that in
Yeah.
Gambia almost every day.
Yeah, Gambia
And
was
I was
another.
it wasn't nice to see, man. It wasn't nice.
No,
I didn't come to Africa to see that. Let's put it that way.
no, that was bad.
I did not come to Africa to see 80-year-old wrinkled up European women, like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, in bikinis, strutting around like they like.
Like, what are you doing? That's what I was
Yeah.
like. What in the world are you doing, yo? Like, why are you here? That was why. Like, why are you here?
Oh, we know why they're there. We know why they're there. They getting the experience of their lives. Because most of them are like widows, or if they are, their husbands are sick at home somewhere, and they living their best life. Those old women. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
talking old, like 70.
But they age different, bro. Those women could have been in their 50s and they look like they was 75.
Ooh, no, that's a good point.
That's real.
That's a good point. But then doesn't it make the fact pattern worse?
No, because the man is just looking at it like, if I don't do this, I'm gonna have to go sell fruit, or like Captain Chris be on the beach giving boat rides, or you know what I'm saying? Like, if you got a woman that got a pension from somewhere, then that's instant money for them every week, every day. They can go do whatever they want to do. Like, they can live like we live when we go there. Versus,
Yeah, but here's the problem though. At some point, you got to perform. I can't do it, bro.
no,
I can't do it. I can't do it. I wouldn't be able to perform. I just wouldn't be able to. So, I mean, I don't know. These dudes got more discipline than me, I guess, to be able to pull that off, because they're hugged up on these women and holding their hands. And so, that's the bad thing about Gambia that I didn't like to see, because I didn't come to Africa to look at that. I did not come to Africa to look at 70 or 50-year-old European women who look like they're 80, wrinkled up everywhere, wearing bikinis, walking around like they living their best life in Africa. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I would prefer to see some like older sisters from America doing that. You understand? Go enjoy yourself in Africa. But when you see man, like it's a sight to behold, man. Like it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I had to be careful because some of them was because I have locks. Some of them were looking at me like I was maybe a Gambian and I was on that type of time. You understand what I'm saying? But nah, not I said the fly. Not I said the fly, yo. I didn't even listen. I didn't get no eye contact with none of them. Them old hags, man. Because the moment you look at them, the moment you look at them, like I'm looking at them in disgust, and they think I'm looking at them because I'm interested in something. You understand what I'm saying? So I would look away quick. You understand? I didn't want no eye contact, man, because you could tell that they come to Gambia, like the word's out. The word's out. I know that they all have a WhatsApp group with retired European women, and they're telling their stories about their escapades in the Gambia. It really looked like it's basically Brazil for white women. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. Real. It's crazy. So that's what I didn't like about Gambia. I didn't see that in Sierra Leone. You didn't see that either.
No, I didn't.
No, I didn't see that. But every day you saw that in Gambia when you go to the beach. Every day.
Who colonized Gambia?
The British. That's why they speak English. And it was the French for Senegal. So that's why they speak French.
And Sierra Leone's French too.
No. Sierra Leone was Sierra Leone is it's either a French or Spanish name. It means Sierra is like land, and Leon is lion. Leon, it means lion in Spanish. So it's like lion land or something like that. But a land of the lions. But Sierra Leone was colonized by the British.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wonder, like, because like Gambia is a European vacation destination.
It is. And we saw it.
Yeah, definitely.
Sierra Leone, not so much.
No.
Nah.
Sierra Leone got more Chinese people.
Yeah, it had Chinese, but they're there doing business.
Well, they say that they're sending some of their men there that they don't want in China to populate. Yeah, you see that in different parts. You see it in Ghana. You see mixed Chinese and Ghanaian children now. So yeah, you see that, but it's not out in the open. Not like the Chinese ain't running around drunk gallivanting with like Sierra Leonean people. You know what I mean? It's not like that at all. But in Gambia, it's all in full display, and it looks crazy. It looks crazy. It's a different kind of colonization.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why I wouldn't live in Gambia and I would live in Sierra Leone. But in Gambia, it's a lot calmer. The pace is a lot slower. I think the people are just as nice and just as cool. I think that the people in Sierra Leone got a little bit more energy, like in terms of vibes. You know what I'm saying? Like it might just be because it's more populous. The population is just bigger.
On top of each other. They on top of each other in the city.
Yeah, man. What is for you, what's the next African country you'd like to make your presence known in?
Rwanda.
Yes. I'm gonna do a live on Rwanda maybe this week. I'm gonna cover Rwanda from head to toe so people can know the vibes, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I think you'd have a great time there. A lot to do.
One of my friends just got back from Uganda, and I was impressed with his video footage that he put out. Uganda was beautiful. Like everything's built up, the infrastructure's nice, things of that nature. But there's probably less opportunity. But I don't know. You never know.
You kind of have to go there. I've never been to Uganda. Even though I go to Rwanda so much, I've just never made it to Uganda to check out what it's like, But I know it's very lush there. Oh, you want to check out Zanzibar?
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of footage on Zanzibar that's looking beautiful.
Okay. Yeah, I've been to Zanzibar. I think you would enjoy it. There's a lot of development work that needs to be done, but the beaches are beautiful. The Indian Ocean is beautiful. If you stay at any of the resorts, you'll have a beautiful time. There's a lot of water activities to do, but in terms of like inside Zanzibar, there just needs to be a lot of redevelopment.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like real redevelopment. Like if somebody who was a developer and was like a city planner was to have free reins and had money, Zanzibar could be like one of our gems of Africa, man.
Yeah.
Because it's really a beautiful island, man. I never seen so many coconut trees in my life, man. Like when you go to the interior of Zanzibar, there's nothing but coconut trees, man. And some of the major spices grow there naturally. So you can go on a spice tour and you got all these different spice trees there. And it's just fascinating, you know. So it's a beautiful place, but there's a lot of poverty there. And a lot of the buildings, let's just put it this way, a lot of the buildings want pressure wash. Like they haven't been pressure washed or painted in forever. You know what I mean? Like Zanzibar could be so much more than what it is, you know, but it's definitely a place you should check out, man. Tanzania, Dar es Salaam, you know what I'm saying? You there?
You hear me, Heru?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. So Rwanda and Zanzibar?
I have to go to Rwanda.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So
I
that's what
don't
you're
know.
feeling, Rwanda and Zanzibar?
That's what I'm thinking. Because initially, once I saw you when you left the Virgin Islands and I saw you shooting video in Rwanda, I was like, yo, I'm going to Rwanda. Because it just seemed like everything was, the infrastructure was incredible. And then
Yep.
you were saying, like, and I saw the video of the government telling you guys that you can come do business there. They'll make it very easy for you. Things of that nature. Like, they want people to bring value. So that, meant a lot to me as far as, and then I saw the women and I was like, oh my Lord. Let me
that's an added bonus, man. Yeah. It's just a beautiful place, man. It's beautiful. Like it's beautiful.
What about the food?
Okay, so when I'm in Rwanda, my experience would be different because my wife cooks. I'm not a big restaurant guy. So when you saw me in Gambia, I was kind of like a fish out of water because I was eating from restaurants. In Sierra Leone, I was eating from restaurants unless Fatu was cooking. So when I'm in Rwanda, I'm usually there with my wife, and she's such a great cook that I don't really eat out. You know what I mean? We go to the market, she gets the food and she cooks it, she spices it the way it is. In terms of like Rwandan food, they have a thing they eat called ugali, which is like a kind of like a cornmeal they eat, and they just love eating it. I don't think the food is very remarkable in Rwanda. There are some places you can go, like there's a place called Green Corner. Like if you're into, like they have a fish called Nile tilapia, which is huge, and they'll blacken that and cook that real nice, and you get some little vegetables with it. Or then if you can ask them for plantain, you can get plantain with it. They call it muzuzu. That's what they call it there. You know what I'm saying? So you can get that. But I did not have food there that I was like, wow. You know what I mean? Like I was like, wow, this is incredible. Not like what we were eating in Sierra Leone, where like I wanted to eat that every day. Go to get them greens and you know what I'm saying, and the plantain, and you know what I mean. They had the palm oil and all of that in Sierra Leone, so the eating was a little bit different. I enjoyed the food better in Sierra Leone. Like I can imagine the times I went to restaurants in Rwanda. Now here's the thing: like if you want like American food, like pizza and stuff like that, there's pizza restaurants there. But if you want their local food wasn't too remarkable to me. And actually, I think there was one time a sister came over from Rwanda who cooked along with my wife and showed her different meals. And the sister was a great cook, but the food itself wasn't like, it wasn't, there's no like traditional meals that they had that blew me away in Rwanda. Let's put it that way.
Right.
You know what I'm
So
saying?
there's a need for good restaurants in Rwanda.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you can make it, like if you can make certain types of foods, like so right now, like when I was there recently, like there were a few West African restaurants. Like you could get, like you could get. So let me put it to you this way: there was a few restaurants. There was one in particular we went to that had West African food, and that shit was good. Like the West African food, but in terms of their traditional food and what they eat,
Yeah.
um, and I may be a bit ignorant because I didn't like I haven't maybe I just haven't had because I can't really name their meals like that. So that could be something that I'm missing, but never have I had any of their like traditional food or the food that the average Rwandan eats, and I'm just like, wow, this is great. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it is what it is, you know.
So
Um,
Rwandan cuisine is a borrowed cuisine. Ugali isn't a traditional food. It became a traditional food after the genocide. Ugali is fresh beans and chips. Chips are
No,
French fries.
ugali and fresh beans. So I guess that's part of the food that they eat. Then chips is French fries. Yes, they eat a lot of chips. You know, like a lot of French fries and oh, but there is one thing that they have that I would say is good, but it's not necessarily. I don't think it's their traditional food, but there's a thing that they have where they have like shish kebabs
Huh.
and they'll have like vegetables on it, and then you can have like a fish on it, or if you eat meat, they'll have that on it. You know what I'm saying? And so that's like one of their main foods, like to have that, and it'll be like on a stick. And so that's something that a lot of people get when they like that's when I'm talking about like, so whether it's traditional or not, I'm just talking about what the local people eat. So the local people eat like the shish kebab thing, which they call brochettes. You know what I'm saying? They eat that. They eat ugali. They eat Nile tilapia. But I'm not too skilled in like average everyday Rwandan cuisine. You know what I'm saying? They'll eat like chapatis, which is like the Indian bread and stuff like that. And I think that came over from like Kenya and Uganda, the Indians from there. So they'll have that there. But you're not going to Rwanda for the food. Because you'll get food. Like you can go, and here's the thing. If you go to the local restaurants, you get like some serious amount of food for very cheap.
Yeah,
Very, very cheap.
but if it's not, seasoned correctly and things of that nature.
Now,
I
here's the
kinda
thing. Here's the thing. They have a pepper sauce that's really nice, man. So if you like pepper, you put that pepper on their food, and you could kind of good to go. It's really nice. You know what I'm saying?
Because I struggled the last week in Gambia, food wise, because I
Did
had
you?
eaten, yeah, because I ate everything that I could find that was,
Yeah, that Fatu was making.
yeah, I was done with that. I was tired.
Oh, okay. You were getting tired
I
of
wanted
it.
to eat the same thing over. So I found an Indian restaurant. Me and Kwame went up to this Indian restaurant, and they had a
Okay.
different variety of food, and the food was really good. But since then, I haven't eaten any meat at all. I'm
Okay.
straight. I went
You
back
eat
to
no
straight.
fish, no nothing like
No
that.
fish, none of that. No.
Yeah. See, so for me, I'm a type of person, I can eat the same thing every day for a year, pretty much, and not complain. So like when you saw me in Gambia, we were eating yam, like I was getting
Yeah.
the yam and the plantain and the palm, the palm nut soup or the palm oil this, and I was good. Like that's all I
Yeah.
need. That's all I need, and I'm good to go. And then give me some mango too. I'm good to go. So
Yeah.
when we found that Fatu cooked and she would just make all that food, I was good to go because all I would do is just heat it up. She'd make a big pot for us. I would just
Yeah.
heat it up. But yeah, I could tell you wanted something different every now and then. So
I'm
yeah, you had
done,
to
man.
go.
I what I tell you, I said I wanted some Brussels sprouts and some collard greens
Yeah,
and
yeah,
some asparagus. He was like, man, them is European vegetables. Them they didn't
yeah,
come from
yeah,
Africa. I
yeah,
was like,
yeah,
true.
yeah.
Yes, it did.
And
You were
kale,
right.
right? We were
I
having
was
that
wrong.
argument about kale.
Yeah, I was wrong.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
definitely
man. Yeah, so when we got to Sierra Leone, you were happy because the food was a little bit different.
Yeah, the smoked snapper and smoked. She had some other fish there. Yeah, the flavors were really good when we got to Sierra Leone. The flavor was better, and I was even thinking, well, if I bring my own seasonings, then that will change the flavor up because I was going to the store looking for different seasonings to try to switch it up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everyone has to have what they like, man. But yeah, I'm just like the whole time, man, like I think there was a certain point when we were in Sierra Leone, I completely forgot that you were from America. Like there was a time when we were there and we were just moving the way we were moving. I just it was like all three of us were like all of us, we just felt like we were just part of the country.
Yeah, I didn't want to leave Sierra Leone. Like I wasn't
Right.
ready to go when we left. I was ready to
Right.
spend some more time there.
Yeah, I think we were there for like 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the house was just like so modern and it was at home. Like I just felt like I was
Yeah.
in my own house at that point in
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. The house was beautiful. We had the best of food. We had the best of everything and got some good business meetings done and really moving in Africa the way men's supposed to move in Africa. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
And, I look forward to more of them times to come.
because what company was that we met with that wanted houses and cisterns built? Was it around the mines, around some of the mines?
Yeah. That was a friend of Biko. So yeah,
Yeah,
they were doing some gold mining and they needed some construction work done around like cheap housing and cisterns and all of that. So yeah, those are conversations, great conversations that we had to get things done. What we find out though, Howard, is that if you're gonna do business in Africa, you really got to be there.
yeah,
You can't do it remotely. You got to be in
yeah,
front of people's faces. You got to be there to have meetings. The remote Zoom thing don't work. You got to be
yeah.
there on the ground.
It's just
You
like
know.
coaching. Like when I left the Virgin Islands, we had probably 80, 90 girls coming to UVI, to work out and train, and some guys. And when I call back there now, I talk to some of my friends, they say nobody's training no more, man. Like you don't even see the girls in the gym anymore. Like so
Yeah,
when
because
you
you're
leave,
not there. Yeah, the
yeah, because it's
momentum
your
gets
passion.
lost. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
it's your
momentum
passion.
gets lost.
And you can, and some people can't inspire people. Like if you can inspire people, because like for me, 25 years of training, coaching, and to have hundreds of scholarships, I already know what you're going to get if you follow this recipe. So when you remove that, then the person that you put in your place doesn't have that experience and can't transfer that to inspire children to want to be better and do better. And that, whatever you're teaching them. So that's what I think. I
Let's
know.
talk. Let's talk about some of the things you're involved in the businesses. I know you're about to have a mushroom farm up and popping in the States, and I know you're trying to get over to do some things on the continent as well. Now that you got your feet wet, let's talk about some of those things and how people, and then also the coaching that you do in terms of college basketball and all of that, and how you're able to parlay people's athletic skills to get full ride scholarships at universities. So if you could talk about that a little bit, but you start with the mushroom farm, man.
Okay. The mushroom farm came about because I was partners with these two brothers that we were growing cannabis. Well, we were growing THC. I mean, not THC, but CBD in Pennsylvania. And then Jelani and us, we had a little group we were going to grow in Oklahoma. We got our license. And then when the government started changing, like every day they was changing the policies and what you could do, what you couldn't do. By the time they sucked the life out of Oklahoma, there was like 2,000 people that bought licenses. And they made it so we couldn't sell anything to any bordering state. We had to sell everything in the state to the dispensaries there, and they dictated the price, that the max price you could sell it for. So it just faded. because as you changing moving target, you couldn't get anything done. So I was like, well, let me look at mushrooms because I had talked to somebody about some mushrooms. And oh, my cousin, I was at my uncle's house and they were talking about this white guy was talking about him and his dad go out and forest morel mushrooms and that they were getting $200 a pound for these mushrooms from restaurants. So I was like, well,
$200 a pound.
yeah, bro. If you go to like I went to Mom's organic grocery store here in Maryland, and the mushrooms are $30 an eighth. So you do the math on that. There's 8/8 in a
Yeah,
pound.
that's $240 a pound.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. And then Jelani introduced me to a brother that worked 35 years with the USDA. And he's like, oh yeah, if you get your farm ID, they'll give you money to start growing, to build, a mushroom house and all these things. And then you can sell them to the government. I got a friend that's a food inspector. He was in the Virgin Islands with me going to school. He's a food inspector for the U.S. Army. So he sent me paperwork to where we can sell to get approved to sell to the Army mushrooms. He said they buy them. He said the regular cafeterias use them. And then there's a bunch of grocery stores. When you go in, you see they like to buy from local farmers. So I did my research with a couple companies and started growing some mushrooms to test. And now we're going to, we got a couple little facilities in Pennsylvania where we're going to grow the mushrooms there and then employ some local people.
So these are the edible mushrooms, not the psilocybin mushrooms, right?
Yeah, these are the gourmet mushrooms because there's somebody just got busted for selling the regular
the psilocybin, the psychoactive ones. So you're talking about so the type of mushrooms you're talking about is like the you doing any portobello?
Oyster, shiitake
mushrooms.
Yeah, shiitake.
I think you mentioned oyster,
turkey tail. What else? There's one more mushroom I was.
You said lion's mane as well.
Yeah, lion's mane. We're gonna grow them in bags because you can put the mycelium and you can use sawdust or corn or different things like that, and they'll grow out of the bag. And there's a port on the bag, and every month it flushes and the mushroom comes out. And you just slice it with a sharp knife, and you can just go ahead and pack it from there. We're not going to cut them up because that requires even the FDA to come and inspect once you start processing food. Mm-hmm. So if you sell them whole, then you don't have to go through that step. And it helps having a friend that's a food inspector because he just inspected a mushroom farm about 6 months ago. So he is able to give us the information that they're looking for to be successful.
Okay, great. And so your off takers are going to be like stores. You're going to wholesale to stores, or you're coming out with your own product line.
Right. We'll have our own product line, and we're going to sell at local farmers markets and things of that nature as well. Correct.
Okay. And will you be shipping it to anybody if someone wants to buy retail from you, or are you just doing mainly wholesale?
Well, we will ship when we'll dry mushrooms because that's not considered processing them. And if you dry them, you can ship them and, you can hold them. I forget what the shelf life is for a dried mushroom, but you just put it in whatever you're making and they hydrate.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I've always been in, like when I was in the Virgin Islands, I was there to open that air ambulance company. And then I got the coaching job at the university and at the high school. And then while I was doing that, I was selling health products. I was selling ISO tea, that weight loss tea. Like women were buying, it was flying off the shelf because they were getting ready for carnival and things of that nature. So I've always done some extra little hustles just to keep the cash flowing. And it's always been about helping people, Now, as far as basketball, I've been doing that for 25 years. And I was fortunate because I was coaching at a high school where Swin Cash went to school at. And she was there before I got there. She played in the WNBA and she's the president of the where Zion Williamson plays at in New Orleans. She's president of one of those with that club. And so when I jumped in, I was just training players because I loved basketball. And then I met a guy who had a Nike EYBL team. They were one of 17 Nike teams sponsored in the country. And so they used to send us 5-6 pallets of gear every season. And he had some good girls, but I was able to go into our neighborhoods and get those girls and just train them up. And you got a 3-month window to prepare them to go out on the road and play in probably 10 tournaments. And at these tournaments, there's anywhere from 100 to 500 college coaches there. So you got to get them ready so that, to make them attractive to college coaches. And the guy sat under for a minute. He won 2 national championships. He had some one of his players is at Atlanta Dream now, Tanisha Wright. She played pro and now she's a WNBA coach. So I just created this recipe over just sitting under and watching and training and going out and getting more training, paying for it from guys that was training pros and things of that nature. And I just plug them in. And I know that if I do certain things with this player, she's going to get what I did with the other players previously. So we got probably 400 Division I and Division II scholarships, and have a bunch of players coaching at the Division I and II level right now. And then I have some in the pros over in Greece. Of course, Aaliyah Boston, she was one of the girls from the Virgin Islands that we worked with. She was the number 1 draft pick in the WNBA. And something crazy was 3 of my players was at the draft when Aaliyah got drafted. And I sent them to meet and take a picture and send it back to me because one was from Pittsburgh, 2 was from Pittsburgh, and Aaliyah's from the Virgin Islands. And 1 works for the Chicago Bulls now, Connor, that's one that was there. And then Sydney Bordenero, she does styling for some NBA players, WNBA players, and NFL players. So it just, those are the payments for, it just gives you, it's like you're giving back and you see someone graduate from college and they don't owe anybody anything. It's like a great head start.
Right, because you were able to get them scholarships.
Correct. And then now I have a player I was working out today, Asia Petty. She goes to Ohio State, and I'm introducing her to, I got a guy who does those, what I was telling you about, unincorporated associations to protect your assets and things of that nature. So now I'm sharing that with my college students, my girls that are in college. So now Asia, she got an NIL deal. They gave her $100,000. I mean, I shouldn't have said that, but they gave her 6 figures. They gave her 6 figures, and they're going to give her she'll get some more money. So
I'm glad that the college athletes are finally getting paid,
Yeah, that's huge because, a lot of these children, they come from single parent homes and they're struggling. Right. So, you're making the university millions of dollars. So why shouldn't you
they need to break you off.
Part of that. Correct.
Yeah. So that's a good thing that you're doing, man, and getting these kids scholarships, man, so they can go to school for free. You know what I'm saying? And then now they can make some money and get some income. So, we talked offline about. Now go ahead.
One of the biggest things is that they're listening. You know what I'm saying? Like they want more information. Like I'll send Asia, I sent her your website, and she looked at some things, and so when I first got with her, because it's not just coaching, it's nutrition, it's discipline, it's getting in shape, it's it's choosing the right friends to be around, and just being dedicated to helping yourself and things of that nature. It's a lot like work ethic. It covers so many facets that it's not just basketball. A lot of people think it's just basketball, but if you can teach them these skills, life skills, and teach them what you, like you say, if I knew then what I know now, that's what I'm teaching them. You feel me? Like I didn't have that head start, so I feel obligated to share this with the ones that will listen. And it's beautiful to see. Like I sent Asia to Kitty's site. She wants to write a book on her life, her coming from Baltimore, being single parent home, and just the challenges that she had. And now I sent her to Kitty, and she's going to write a book here in the next couple of months. She actually was starting tonight after we worked out. She said, I'm going to go start writing my book right now. So if you can transfer this knowledge that I get from you and the other brothers that you've introduced me to, and Jelani, and it just, as you travel, you just collect knowledge and you get smarter every day, and you can feel it. You know what I'm saying? And then when you remove the toxic food that they're giving us from it, it opens up your pineal gland. And then you wake up like you got a straight connection to God every day. and you feel like you're invincible, but you got to stay around the people that provide you with that type of support. Because if you
Right.
go out and try to do it on your own, then you might dim your light a little bit.
Right. Let me ask you a question. So, how was life different for you since you returned from Africa? In terms of I'm sure your family was asking you a lot of questions and a lot of like inquisitiveness and looking at you like, is that still Howard? Is it, you know what I'm saying? Because people look like because a lot of folks here who don't even have passports, they look like going to Africa is like going on the moon and coming back. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
because I know, because you were saying you were the first one in your family to make it to the continent. And
yeah, I am the first.
yeah, so it's like you're kind of a leader. And I remember you talking to your uncles and your cousins and them getting hyped up and all. So how was that when you returned?
It gives you like instant credibility because you say what you do. And when I came back from Africa, I just committed. I said, I'm gonna live like I always try to live what I say. I don't have to lie to nobody. My actions are who I am. So I just try to give that to them. Like, because every day I wake up, I say today's gonna be a fantastic day. So I can't even live on that lower end of energy anymore, period. You know what I'm saying? No doubt. And so I share that with my uncles, and they're in their 70s and 80s. And it's like liberating for you know what I'm saying? Because they're living through me now.
Mm-hmm.
And they're proud and they're happy that they because it was like you said, it was impossible for some people to go to Africa. And then there's some that are scared by CNN and Fox News. And so for me, I'm crushing all that. Like my son be talking about, well, there's this African guy at work and he thinks he's better than me and he don't speak to me. Like, yo, everybody ain't like that, man. There's some brothers, when they come here, they're trying to fit into here. They want to maximize like they see these people doing, and that's why they're here. So they're going to do anything possible to get that advantage in your environment. So that ain't the same people that I was with over there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just being able to be an authority and speak the truth about what I've experienced versus what somebody told me would happen.
Right. Right. So you come back more as a subject matter expert because you were walking on the soil.
Correct. And being with you and Kwame and just meeting these people and watching how business is conducted, like there's no fear. The fear is not real. We're coming over here to do something that's going to impact people. So we believe in it and we're going to stand on it. And that's what it is. So when I come back here, people they know I'm not no joke. Like I'm coming and this is what we're going to do. This is what I do. If you're doubting yourself, you can't be around me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm holding people more accountable now and actually they're seeing that I've done things and now they're starting to do things. And so now we can do things as a family.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Have any of them expressed wanting to go to Africa with you for a visit?
Oh yeah. My cousin that lives here in Richmond, Virginia, he wants to come. Of course, my grandson wants to come. Judah, he's 9. He definitely wants to come. He want to go anywhere I'm going.
Right.
So and another thing is like when we're talking, me, you, Jelani, some of the brothers, my uncles come around and they hear these things, and it's just like it just lifts the lid off of them. So I tell them, you got to go talk to your children about some of the things that we're talking about, so you can take their lid off because they're living with your limitations, and if you don't let them know that there's something greater here and that they can do it, then they're going to take that and give it to their children. And then now, you got this mental block that cuts your achievements for you to achieve different things or experience different things. So that's been the biggest thing. I got a lot of cousins tell me they want to travel with me. Actually, me and my other cousin, we went to Colombia after Africa, and I felt like I was in Africa when I went to Colombia, Cartagena. There was so many Black people everywhere. There was Black
in Colombia,
buildings. Yeah. So
I understand there's a lot of Black folks in a place called Barranquilla as well in Colombia. Did you get a chance to go to Barranquilla?
No, Jelani
Probably
went to
not. Okay.
Palenque. Palenque,
Okay.
that was one of the
Lincoln.
old African villages. Yeah, he went there. Then we went to a village where uh, they had a volcano there, and you could
Mm-hmm.
climb down in the volcano and take a volcanic
Okay.
ash bath and swim around, and it was
Mm-hmm.
all black African people there, serving up and doing what they do. So yeah,
Yeah. So
definitely.
you had a nice time in Colombia, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah, Africa, man. Like you can see
Yeah.
Africa all over the place. People was coming up to me like, "We the same. We the same. You African, I'm African. Afro." You know what I'm saying? Ain't none of this. Like here, they try to tell you that you're different, but when you go there, they know their grandmother looked just like your grandmother. They know you look just like when we was in where was we in? Where were we at? When we flew from Gambia into Senegal, and all those guys were looking at me like I had escaped their community, like because I looked just like somebody. So I saw people in my family in Africa that looked exactly like us. I've seen the same in South America. So yeah, I mean, it's made a huge impact on my family, but the level of colonialism still strikes fear in some people. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I feel you. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's beautiful. If you want, Howard, I just sent you a message through WhatsApp. I don't know if you can see it, uh, but if people wanted to contact you and get more information about the stuff that you're doing in terms of like coaching, if they have any type of sons or daughters who are interested in sports, particularly basketball, and trying to get a scholarship, how can people get in touch with you so they can, tap into the pipeline that you have developed?
Uh, well, they can always email me at howarddorsey@gmail.com. Or they can go to our basketball website. It's ghoopsrecruiting.com. And you can leave messages through that website as well. And we do consulting and evaluating players, training players, um, consult with parents about what they should be doing or shouldn't be doing with their children, how to choose a travel program to actually get out on the circuit and get in front of college coaches, information about SATs and what curriculum you should be taking in school so that you qualify to go to college, things of that nature. That's what we offer. And you can inquire on the website,
Okay. And what's the website again?
ghoopsrecruiting.com.
Okay. ghoopsrecruiting.com for any of y'all who got any athletic kids. What age groups do you usually deal with?
I deal with anybody. I deal with little babies, little 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, all the way up to pros.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I'm gonna have to get some advice from you because I'm starting to train my son in basketball. So we're doing, we're doing a little this and that, But if I can, tap your mind for some drills that you think would be meaningful, that would be great, man.
I think the first thing for any child that's about to embark upon playing any sport should be doing calisthenics, like
Okay.
body weight calisthenics, so because children have the core, so a lot of kids' cores are weak. So I was asking players to do things that their body wouldn't allow them to do, and that's when I met a guy named Keno Fitzpatrick. His brother
Hmm.
was the speed and agility coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he saw me training this girl in the gym, and she had so many deficiencies. He was like, "Why don't you just break it down into pieces? Like just let her step into it with her feet, and then let her do that 10 times, then let her catch it and step into it, and you just put a number on it." And that's how I kind of developed my training style from talking to Keno, to add two things to make it a step by step, because kids understand it when you put it in steps. And so now they get an inventory. So if they make a mistake, then they know they didn't follow their inventory. Like their inventory, like with shooting. I was teaching a player how to shoot today. and I got like a 5-step process. And I would just tell her, like, I'm there with her and I'm repeating palm. It's on your palm. Like if the ball's sitting flat on her palm, palm. I might say palm 1,000 times in practice. I might say left thumb. I was training the guy in the Virgin Islands. I say left thumb because he was a thumb shooter with his left hand. He would flick. And then after a while, he started to remember that and he could feel it. Boom. And he'd run past the bench. He'd be like, Coach, my thumb. No thumb, Coach. No thumb. He, when he started splashing them threes, he came over, he would tell me. And then then the players would tell me, I could feel that. The ball rolled onto my thumb, or I used my left hand, my left thumb. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, once you get them to understand what it should feel like, then they're going to repeat it back to you.
Okay. Yeah, that's the coaching. Check your phone, Howard. I just sent you a message. Now, one of the things you may not know, Howard, is that you're in certain circles, you're a celebrity because you did a testimonial on herbal results and how it helped you and your health. And that testimonial has been played on some pretty popular YouTube channels with like 1 million followers, where they're playing that testimonial just about every episode. They're playing that testimonial. And so a lot of people heard about, your situation in terms of your health and olive leaf extract. You want to talk about that for a moment before we, sign off?
Well, I was when I came to the Virgin Islands, prior to that, I was doing a camp at an elite camp at St. Francis University, and there was another trainer there, and he told me, he was like, "You one of the best trainers that I've ever seen," and he said, "But you can't be a fat trainer, like you just can't." I was weighing 265 pounds. 5'11", 265. So I blew up. And so after that, I made a commitment. I was like, I'm going to change this. I'm going to get this, because I was in the Army for 10 years prior to all that. And I used to see dudes with big fat guts, and I was like, I'm never going to be that. I'm never going to do that. And then I became that. I was eating all this food, and they switched it up on us, and I just blew up. And so all my numbers went up. My A1C was 12, bro. I never told you this, but my A1C was 12.
I didn't know it was 12.
Oh, yeah. I went back.
Wow.
It was 12. I had sugar in if I urinated, it was sticky. That's how much sugar I had. And then my blood pressure was high and my cholesterol was high. And so I was coming to the VI, my vision was blurry. And I was just like, I had lost 15 pounds and my vision was blurry. And that's whenever I came to the UVI and heard you speak. And then I heard all those testimonials about the cancer and high blood pressure and all that. And I started taking herbal results then, and the olive leaf extract. And then my eyesight stopped being blurry. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of coming down. And then it just was a trickle effect on everything. Blood pressure, everything went down, and I was able to start exercising and change my diet. And then that's what really, that's what really turned things around for me. And that's why I was able to talk about herbal results products to other people, because it helped me tremendously. And I'm gonna tell you this. I get emails from when my sister takes my mom to the hospital. Well, my mom had lung cancer. And when I got her, I took her off of everything, all the prescription drugs, the whole 9 yards, and I put her on olive leaf extract and some other things in your protocol. And that cancer on her lung went away, bro. It's not there anymore. So they were still trying to treat her with chemotherapy. And I was like, no. So now.
What stage was she at?
She was stage 2 or 3. She had like a lump on her lung, or a spot on her lung. And so, I took her off everything. And so I get an email now, and now they got some kind of vitamins they're giving her instead of chemo. I forget what they call it. But that cancer went away, man. Like, people was calling me crazy. They were saying, you trying to kill your mother because you're giving her Rick Simpson.
No, I remember. Yeah, I remember you calling me about that. And I remember you saying, yo, you think this will help? And I was like, oh, hell yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I remember you saying, I had to take my mother away from everybody. Now she's living with me so I can control what's going on. And yeah, it worked out. it worked out. How long did it take for her to have the lung cancer, and then you did the protocol? And by the way, people, y'all can pick up the book that has the protocol in it. It's the book that I wrote called The Successful Eradication of Cancer Using Intracellular Parasite Theory. Essentially what we did with Howard was we put him on the olive leaf extract for his mother. He was comfortable with it because he took it himself for his problem. So it wasn't like it was a new product for her. And then we also added ivermectin to it. Now, I mean, like, I have no problem saying it because, first of all, ivermectin isn't illegal, but it's also an anti-parasitical as well. So what Howard did was he gave her the olive leaf extract, which is an anti-parasitical, the ivermectin, which is also an anti-parasitical. And then I think maybe like 2 months later we spoke, and you were like, you just kind of mentioned it in passing. Oh yeah, by the way, my mother's cancer free. I was like, oh, I was like, by the way, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a hell of a story, man. That's a hell of a story. And it's good. It's good that you let people know so that other people understand that cancer doesn't have to be a death sentence.
Right.
If it's
Exactly.
approached the right way, because what you did was you took everything away in terms of the medications and everything, and just made sure that she at least gave the protocol a chance. And when she did, it worked out very well.
And another thing I implemented was fasting, intermittent fasting with my mom, because she didn't need to eat 3 meals a day. And she got stronger. She's walking up steps better, walking around the block. She's 84 now. And it definitely, the whole protocol definitely helped, you know. And even to this day, people know it, and they'll still say, oh, my dog, I gotta go see my cancer doctor. And I'm like, you can go keep playing them games if you want to, but the real solution's here.
Yep. So yeah.
And I appreciate you. I appreciate you for sharing all that information with me. You know, you helped a lot of people in my family.
Yeah, man, it's
with
not
the
a
urban
problem.
results.
Yeah, it's not a problem, man. You know, it would be uncivilized not to. You know what I'm saying? You know, I love to hear the story. No, seriously, because you told me your mother was doing pretty bad, and you had to basically take her away from everybody and put matters into your own hands. So that's what you got to do, especially if you have a big family. You got all types of voices saying different things, and they're going to, 9 times out of 10 try to go the conventional route because we've been taught and trained that these people know what they're doing. But you knew better, because of your situation. They didn't solve your diabetes issue. They didn't solve your high blood pressure issue. You had to take matters into your own hand. And you met me and you heard what I was saying. It made sense, and you just gave it a try, and then you got results. You know what I'm saying? And so for you to do that for your mother and give her a fighting chance, that's incredible that you were able to do that, because a lot of people aren't. There's a lot of people I talk to, Howard, who have been helped with my protocol in one way or another, whether it's an autoimmune illness or diabetes or high blood pressure, or even cancer, and they've gotten results. But the problem is when their family members get sick, their family members don't listen to them.
Right.
They don't listen to them.
My grandmother.
Yeah.
My grandmother would probably still be here if I would have met you sooner, because she was 95 years old. She was walking around. She'd be downtown. I go to her house. She ain't even home. She's out shopping, things of that nature. And I wasn't there. And they gave her, then I got there and they gave her this. They were like, oh, she can't, her throat's closing up. She can't eat. They gave her this bottle. It looked like Pedialyte, but looked like cereal in there. And I read it. And I Googled everything on it, and it told me what it was going to do to her. It was going to make her retain water and swell up. And I told my aunt, who was in charge, that, we don't need to give this to grandma because it's going to blow her up. And she's like, well, that's what her doctor said. Well, I came back the next day. I couldn't even recognize my grandmother. She was so bloated, and just her legs were swollen and filled with water, man. And it was incredible. And if I would have just had some olive leaf to give her, and maybe
that's crazy. You should get like a thing called edema. It's called edema, when your body starts swelling up like that. There's a question for you. Say, what's your family saying now that you've healed her, your mother?
My uncles are ecstatic, but some other people think it was luck. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Right. They don't really understand. Which and sometimes I take it for granted that I understand things because I used to sell water treatment systems, so I had to know everything that was in the water, cryptosporidium, the whole 9 yards. And then
Mhm.
CMOS, I was selling CMOS in the Virgin Islands. My nephew was making capsules, and then he would put them in the bottles. We called it CMOS Tang. We were selling cases of that down there. So I've been in this arena for a long time, so I understand how it works. Some people don't. They don't study. They quit. They get
Right.
out of school and don't ever read a book. So you can't convince some people.
Right. Then you're an extremely lucky guy.
You're
Right.
lucky.
Right. They just believe it's luck. And yeah, I've heard these things. And usually what will happen is what you'll find is if any of your other family members get cancer, they're going to go the conventional route, do the chemotherapy, the radiation, the surgery, and then when it ends up not working because it doesn't really work, at the very, very best case scenario, it'll put it in remission, but then years later it'll come back because they didn't deal with it in terms of really getting rid of the cancer stem cells.
Right.
And really, if you don't get rid of the parasites, the intercellular parasites in your body, it's just going to be there, willing, ready to grow. So, and it'll get triggered whenever your immune system crashes or what have you. So, or if you eat a lot of foods that feed parasites, which is basically sugar and refined carbohydrates. So, what typically happens, Howard, is that they will go through the whole line of chemo, which will destroy their immune system, radiation, which will destroy their immune system. They won't change their diets. The surgery won't work. They've gotten a part of their body cut off. And then the doctors tell them, there's nothing else we can do for you.
Right.
And then guess what happens? They give you the phone call now and they say, what can you do for me, Mr. Lucky Man? You get what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
And then they'll be open to the quote unquote alternative, which should be really the first. It should be the first choice because it doesn't come with side effects. I mean, when you were treating your mother, she wasn't sick when you were treating her. You just saw
She
her
got
getting better.
stronger. Yeah, she
You
was
weren't
stronger.
seeing you weren't seeing her getting weaker and worse like you do with chemotherapy, which is mustard gas from World War
Right.
One. That's what chemotherapy is. It's repositioned mustard gas from World War One, and it's so toxic that if it spills, they have to have hazmat suits to clean it up from the hospital floors. Like
Right.
they're required to wear hazmat suits, and so imagine what that does to your body. You know what I'm saying? So what's going to happen with your family members is that when they do get sick, they'll go through the conventional treatment, and when it doesn't work, they'll just give you a call. And it's just up to you because you love them to just show them grace and just say, hey, this is what we did. Because this is the type of messages I get almost every day. People who went through conventional treatment and let them down. The conventional treatment didn't work. And now they want to come to me. The only problem is that I have to make up for all the damage that was done to their bodies. So the immune
Right.
system that's been completely devastated by chemotherapy and radiation, I have to now at least have enough time to build up that immune system because it's the immune system at the end of the day that wards off of cancer. We all
Right.
have precancerous cells in us, but it's the immune system. So sometimes it's a problem, but we keep doing what we're doing, man. But I remember when you told me the story, we were talking about something else. You just kind of mentioned it because I remember you were working with your mother, you were working with her, and you were, I was, giving you the heads up on the ivermectin and the olive leaf and all of that, and you were going hard on it. And then one day we were just talking, how we talk every now and then, we just start
Yeah.
chopping it up. And you had just mentioned it like in passing. Oh, by the way, my mother's good now.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, what's the story? What's the story? You're like, oh, okay, here's the story. I was like, damn, that's a pretty important story. But you were just so
Yeah.
happy that she was good.
Yeah. That's all. I
Mhm.
mean, if you don't have to go, why go? You know what I'm saying? Like if you can just take something natural from the earth that's going to keep you in alignment with being able to stay here longer, why not do it? Why give in to the advertisements to kill yourself? That's basically
Yeah,
all it is. And that's what I teach my kids,
yeah,
my
man.
daughter and my grandson, and he's in stores reading labels now, like telling me what multidextrins in this pap and different things like that. So we can just get to the children because there's some smart young children. We just got to have curriculum that's going to tell them that nature is number one and it's going to heal you. And if you eat anything that outside of nature, it's going to cause your body to react negatively. But
Yup,
now,
yup.
with them owning the medical system and the advertisements, they got our kids thinking that Skittles and Takis are good. Like I just bought my daughter she's 13. I bought her a hydroponic grow house. So now she's hitting me up every day with videos of her growing watermelon and lettuce and things of that nature. So now she's plugged in. That's what it
Okay.
took.
Excellent. Excellent. That's what I love to see, man. And there's some people sending me message. I'm just gonna share because some people wanted to know about the book. Someone just sent me a text. Um, I'm just gonna share a screen real quick, and this is exactly what Howard followed was here. It was in the book here. It is the successful eradication of cancer using an intracellular parasite theory, scientific evidence. So the first chapter is the scientific evidence, all the studies showing that cancer is related to parasites, if not caused by parasites, if not a parasite unto itself. And then testimonials of people who reversed their cancer with different aspects of the protocol. And then I have the protocol and tells you step by step what to do, what to take, how much to take, how long to take it. All of that is there. So anyone can go to herbalresults.net and download the book as an interactive ebook. And Howard followed it to a T and got results for his mother. So, I mean, he's really a hero for his family, but they think he's a lucky guy,
He's lucky.
but he took matters into his own hand, man, and saved his mother's life. And so, I love to hear these cancer reversal testimonials, man. And if I ever come up to Pennsylvania, ever meet your mother, love to give her a big hug, man, because I love to hear these success stories to just partly also to prove the system wrong. That's I know in a lot of ways you're like me. I get special pleasure. I derive special pleasure from frustrating the system and proving them wrong. It makes me happy. It's something that I like to do for fun. So, these stories that keep piling up on these cancer reversals is just incredible to me. And the fact that I was able to help a friend, to help you, like that's what the whole reason why we know each other is to bring brightness into each other's lives, man. And the fact that, you called me with a problem and I was like, yeah, I think we can help with that. And the other side of it too, for someone like me, you weren't skeptical, you listened and you followed the steps and you got the results. The problem that I have is that sometimes I'll have people call and they don't listen. They just don't listen. They don't listen to what's being said and they don't stick with it. And so it's like, you just wasted my whole time talking to me.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And I think for me personally, my great grandmother, she had my grandmother in a coal camp in West Virginia in a tent. And so growing up, we ain't go to no drugstore. We had remedies. My grandmother went out in the yard. She was like, go out and pick them dandelions, them leaves over there and bring them on in the house. And she would make teas and my grandmother would be cooking onions with Vicks Vapor Rub, putting it on your chest, putting onions in your socks. If you had them, I remember I had the mumps one time. I don't know how I got the mumps. My grandmother had some potatoes in a cheesecloth and wrapped them around my head, and the potatoes was on my cheeks, and all the swelling went down. My throat stopped hurting, the whole 9 years. So we was raised on the yard. You got your herbs from the yard. We wasn't going to get no medicine. So I'm a believer in that. And when I see people that are doing natural work, I don't have no skepticism, period. Because I know the pharmaceutical industry is trying to kill people. And I know
Right.
there's 20 side effects for everything you put in your body, pretty much. So
Yeah.
why would I trust something God didn't create versus something that God did create?
Right.
It just don't make sense to me.
Right. And that's a great segue to tomorrow's show. I'll repeat it again for those who tuned in late. Tomorrow's show is going to be entitled "The Lying Liars Who Love to Lie and the Miscreants Who Support Them." It's going to be a very, very serious show. It's going to talk about some of the things that we just touched on in the last half an hour. Because Howard's a living testament. I'm a living testament. His mother's a living testament to what can be done if you just don't listen to them. You just don't listen to them, and you actually truly follow the science and follow the natural way of doing things. You get these types of results. You get cancer reversals. And what I would have loved to do, Howard, is when your mother got the scan and they didn't see any tumors anymore, I'd love to see the reaction on the doctor's face. I wish we were talking at that time, the day when you went, and they said your mother's cancer free. I wish you could have recorded the look on the doctor's face, because they're not expecting to see no tumor. They're not expecting to see it.
Right. Yeah, that's real. And they kind of shrugged it off and said, "Oh, she needs to come back in. We need to retest her." And I was
Right.
like, "She ain't coming back." I was treating them like, the cop videos where you got those dudes doing the audits. I was like, "She ain't
Yeah.
coming back." It's like, "What do you mean, Mr. Dorsey? We're her doctors." I was like, "I'm her son. She's not coming back." You feel me?
Right.
Like, we're gonna
Because
give
they
you,
already told you she was cancer free. What else do y'all need?
right. They want to retest and put her on those other little medications.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just in case it comes back. That's
Right.
their, yeah. And the thing is, what's very interesting is, I'm sure that once they saw that the tumor disappeared, they showed no intellectual curiosity as to what you did in the
None.
protocol you did, because it was clear you were taking care of her. You
Right.
would think that they would want to ask you and try to find out, wow, what did you do? But they show no intellectual curiosity. They're very arrogant, and they have no right to be arrogant because they don't get the results to justify their arrogance.
But I think it's more than arrogance. I think it's stupidity or ignorance, because they're reading a book and all their faith is in that book, and they don't understand who created that book and why he
Right,
created it. You know what I'm saying? Like Dr. Sebi said, their knowledge ends on the last page of the book.
right,
They're practicing. I fired my doctor at the VA. She kept trying to give me, "Oh, well, try this, Mr. Dorsey. Try this. Try this." I was like, "Yo, you telling me to try things? That sounds like an experiment to me." And
right,
so I don't. You might be a good person, but you represent that book. That book is telling you everything to do. You're not even listening to what I'm telling you. And so I stopped going. And she kept calling me. She had the head nurse at the VA call me. They had the president of the VA or whatever call me. "Mr. Dorsey, you should come in and get your blood work and get your meds. We know your sugar is high." And I was like, "It's not. I'm good." They were like, "We've never seen anybody, heal like you did this fast. You need to come in. We need to check your feet and all these different things." I was
mm-hmm,
like, "Yo, I'm good. I'm down
right.
60, 70 pounds." So I fired her, and she wouldn't help me anymore after that for things I needed her for pain
Of
and things of
course,
that nature.
of
Yeah.
course, because you fired her, and a lot of these doctors don't realize that they work for us, but they think that they're the ones in charge of us. The way they talk to people, I mean, I've got, man, there was someone I was talking to yesterday, and she has yesterday, 2 days ago, she's in Atlanta, and she's got cancer. She has a tumor in her back, and her doctor is just giving her hell. Come to find out that she went and did a scan recently, and her tumor went from like 20 centimeters to 13, which is
Wow.
a 30% shrinkage. And she didn't even tell me that. She tells me that a little later along in the conversation. But the doctor is trying to get her to do X, Y, and Z even more when actually it's shrinking, doing the protocol that I gave her. So I'm talking to her, and she tells me, "Oh, but we did a scan the other day." I'm like, "So what was the results of the scan?" She said, "Oh, it's 13 centimeters now." I said, "Do you realize that you had a 30% decrease in your tumor in 45 days. You should be like extremely happy. And she was like, I never even thought about that. I never even looked at it that way. And I'm like, what? I'm like, your doctor didn't tell you that you actually are making positive progress, that your tumor has shrunk 30% in a month and a half. And they're saying that it was like, this is not supposed to happen. And she's like, no, I know. And then the medication they're giving her, she's coughing. And so she's thinking that the cancer is making her cough. Well, I looked up the medication, and the medication they're giving her, the main side effect of that medication is coughing. Yeah, that's the main side effect of it. You know?
That's incredible.
So, yeah, so it's great. Howard, one of these days, if I write a book about the stories that people give me with their doctors, people wouldn't even believe it. The type of foolishness that I have to hear day to day to day to day. And what I do is I just teach them the first thing that I try to teach people is how to research the side effects of the medication you're taking, because they're not giving people, they're actually in violation of the Nuremberg Code. It's a human rights violation to give, and it came out of what happened in Nazi Germany with a guy named Dr. Mengele, where he was doing experiments on children, Jewish children, twins particularly. So he'd give them because they have the same genetics, so he'd give one this and the other one something else named poison, and then watch to see how they react to it. So he was just killing kids left and right. And so part of the Nuremberg Code is that no patient should be given medication if they don't know what the side effects could be. It's called informed consent. Well, it turns out that 99% of people who are given medications are literally not given informed consent because they're not informed at all. So they're not even in a position to consent. So if your doctor gives you medication and does not tell you what the side effects could be, they're actually in violation of World War II's Nuremberg Code for human rights. So it's like, it's crazy. It's crazy. A lot of people aren't aware of that, but literally the whole United States public could do a class action lawsuit against pharmaceutical and the medical industrial complex for violations against the Nuremberg Code, and they would win because they're given medication without informed consent. Like with the whole vaccine thing that happened, people were taking vaccines and there was no informed consent. They didn't tell you it was going to cause myocarditis and blood clots and brain problems and cancers, turbo cancers. They didn't, but they had research showing that it would actually do that, and they withheld it. So nobody was given informed consent. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow. That's why the title of the show tomorrow is going to be called Lying Liars Who Love to Lie and the Miscreants Who Support Them. This is a really important thing. I might get kicked off of Facebook or YouTube, but we'll go to Twitter. And if we have to take it to a BB to me, we'll try to do that tomorrow. I'm trying to phase into that next week as they're working on the site. But we have to have a liberated space where we can have these conversations, man. You understand what I'm saying?
So we could actually start a mass action lawsuit?
Yes. You could, a class action lawsuit that is a violation of the Geneva Convention, Nuremberg Code, because everybody who's giving a medication has to be given informed consent. And I'm telling you that just about 99% of people who call me with problems, the first thing I ask them is, what medication are you on? They give me the name of the medication. And then I do the research as to the side effects. It's a very simple process. And I go through the side effects and I literally call them and I read the side effects, and they're like, that's exactly what's wrong with me. And they start, actually, there's a client of mine in DC who's gotten a large prostate problem, and they want to do surgery on him. And he took the olive leaf extract for a month, and he said the olive leaf isn't working. So to me, okay, if it's not working, then it's got to be something in your diet. So we go over his diet. He had a pretty good diet. So I said, but it's something you're consuming. because your prostate's not supposed to swell. I mean, it swells so much that he can't urinate. It swells, so it's blocking the urethra. Howard, I asked him for the list of medications. He's taking 2 medications. Both medications, side effects say obstruction of urinary canal,
Wow.
problems in urinating as the main side effects of both medications. One is a high blood pressure medication. And I got on the phone with him and his wife, and I said, I want you to go to, Google, put in name of medication, side effect. I showed him the whole procedure. And so we are on the same page together. And I said, let's read the side effects together. And we got to difficulty in urination as the main side effect. The only way you're going to have difficulty in urination if something is blocking the urethra.
Right.
And that's usually a swollen prostate, which is what this man had. So he'd been taking blood pressure medication for years, for over a decade. And that was the issue. And the funny thing, here's the funny thing. He was taking the olive leaf extract, and the olive leaf extract dropped his blood pressure too low. So the wife now asked me, and she's a sharp woman, but she asked me, Heru, should I discontinue the olive leaf because it's dropping my husband's blood pressure too low? And I asked her, is he on blood pressure medication? She said, yes. And I said, so why don't you just drop the blood pressure medication, let him take something natural? Why do you want to drop the olive leaf? And then she had this light bulb moment. She's like, I've been brainwashed. I've been completely brainwashed by the system to actually minimize the olive leaf and to maximize the thoughts and the legitimacy of the pharmaceutical medication. I said, so if the olive leaf is working to drop the blood pressure, why don't you keep that, since that doesn't have any side effects? And by the way, give me the name of the high blood pressure medication. Let me look at the side effect. Lo and behold, the side effect of that blood pressure medication that man has been taking for over 10 years is difficulty in urination. And when they saw that, it's been a long time since I heard a grown man cry, bro. He's weeping on the phone.
Wow.
On the other side of the phone, because he's been through so much, and his doctors never shared with him the side effects of the medication that they know he's taking. And it says clearly in the side effects, difficulty in urination.
And that's why I fired my doctor, because they told me, I went in and I told them this metformin has my stomach hurting, my testicles hurt, like I got diarrhea, like, and she was like, oh, don't worry about. And I said, metformin causes cancer. I just saw this. I just looked this up. And she said, oh, no, I wouldn't worry about the cancer. I would just worry about the explosive bowel movements. That's what you want to hear from your pharmacist or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was crazy to me. And that's when I was like, I can't allow these people to guide or lead me when they don't even know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And the whole metformin thing, metformin is the main thing that people with diabetes are given, because what it does, it creates insulin sensitivity, because really your problem is insulin resistance. But instead of just telling you to reform your diet to stop eating foods that cause insulin surges, they don't. But you know what? You know what's really interesting, Howard? Do you know what the main side effect, the first listed side effect of metformin is?
What?
Death.
What?
Sounds crazy, right?
Yeah.
The first side effect of metformin is death. All right, I'm about to show people, because people think I say some crazy stuff, but I like to back it up. So just for the people watching, I'm going to do this little extra, and then we're going to sign off. Everyone can see the screen. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Okay.
Dang.
Can you see it?
What?
Can you see the screen, Howard?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. You just go to drugs.com and you put in metformin side effects. And it says metformin side effects, warning. What is the first thing that you see?
Death.
Death.
Wow.
Death is the first side effect of metformin.
And what website is that?
caused by lactic acidosis. Drugs.com.
Drugs.com. Okay.
Yeah. That's where I go to get all the side effects of all these drugs. The first side effect is death.
Yeah. That's something that, why would you give that? And that's what I told her. I was like, I've lost all confidence in what you're doing. I said, you may be a good person, but you're working for an industry that really doesn't care.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Every time I show people that, they think I'm like, when I say it, people are like, nah, just like how you react. You're like, death. No, that's the first listed side effect of metformin. Yeah. That's the first listed side effect. Death. That's crazy.
How can you have faith in anybody that's willing to actually prescribe that? And with a straight face, you're prescribing this, and it says death first.
Yeah, and you don't even tell people. You don't tell people. Which I'm saying is that is a violation of the Nuremberg Code because people are not given informed consent.
Right.
Just about anybody who's taking pharmaceutical drugs, none of them know the possible side effects. They're not told. I remember I have a really close friend of mine. She had some issue, man. And she called me one day really scared. And she went for something and they gave her some medication. And she'd forgotten about that she was taking the medication. But she called me one day. We're really close, so she can tell me anything. She's like a sister of mine. And she just basically said, hey, I don't want to gross you out, but like in the toilet, like there's blood in my stool. I'm really fucking scared. Is that the first sign of rectal cancer, colon cancer? I said, yeah, that could be concerning. Like, are you on any medication? She's like, oh yeah, I'm on medication. I said, what's the name of it? She gives me the name of it. It was a medication she took for like, I don't know, like a headache or something. I don't remember. And guess what the side effect was? Bloody stool.
Rectal bleeding. Wow.
Yeah, bloody stool. Was the side effect of the medication. I said, oh, your doctor didn't tell you this? And she said, no, my doctor, not only did my doctor not tell me this, my doctor gave me other medication for the bloody stool. Kept her on the first medication and just gave her another medication for the bloody stool. So she's going to be on 2 medications, but she didn't take that second medication. She wanted to check with me first.
That's crazy. My daughter, my grandson was having nosebleeds and coughing all the time. And my daughter was like, well, we're just going to give him some Flonase. So I Googled Flonase. It had 10 side effects: dizziness, heart palpitations, like a bunch of different things. And I'm like, you want to give this to a 9-year-old so that he could be sitting there thinking, what is wrong with me? I don't even know what's going on. My heart's beating too fast. All these different things, man. And she was like, oh, well, he's not going to get all those side effects. Those are just from the tests that they did on people. I was like, why would you even roll the dice to even give your child something like that? So I'm dealing with that in my own family, bro.
Yeah, it's real. And then your family fights against you, and they say, oh, they basically look at you as a killjoy. Oh, he's just talking all of this and blah blah blah. Like you're the odd man out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the problem is that they're all sick, and you're the one that's healthy.
All sick. Every one of them.
Every one of them. Every one of them. You know, Shabaka Ra says, why even list side effects after death? What do the doctors even read? Exactly. It's crazy. You know?
Yeah, that's the reason.
You can't. Yeah, and Kashiku says, yeah, your doctor said don't worry about the cancer part. Yeah.
Yeah. Worry about the explosive bowel movements.
That's what don't worry about cancer.
Worry about the explosive bowel movements. Like, you crazy white girl, stop it.
Yes, Twyla. Yeah, it definitely helps with eczema, the olive leaf. I have a lot of people whose eczema has definitely helped with. Yeah, it's crazy out there, man. It is really crazy out there. And I have a million stories, man. But like I said, we've done a lot in this show. We've covered like money, the true definition of capitalism. We've gone over Botswana and the miracle of the economy there. We've gone over Lee Kuan Yew and the miracle rise of Singapore. We've gone over the Unabomber's manifesto. What we haven't done on this show is we haven't covered health. And I didn't even plan on talking about it with you. It's just that as we were closing, I was like, oh, Howard got some stories. And so let's touch on this. But, you know, I'm gonna touch on health a little bit more in the show because, I mean, that's what I do when I'm not doing this type of thing. Most of the people I talk to are people talking to me about health issues if they're not talking about like business advice, right? But tomorrow's show is going to be very instructive because what I'm going to do is, again, for the people who tuned in late, where they're at right now in terms of the mainstream media and the government is doing right now is what the intelligence community or the counterintelligence community calls a limited hangout. A limited hangout is when there's a problem that the government has caused or the government is behind and they no longer can deny it. So what they do is they'll notice that there's maybe 3 levels of fuckery involved, and they'll admit to the first level and not the highest level of it. And what is called is a limited hangout is like clothes. You put it and you hang it out to dry in the sun. So it gets sun exposure, but it's only for a limited amount of time. So basically the government says, oh, we admitted that this happened, but this terrible thing didn't happen. And what they found is psychologically with the masses is that if you admit to the lower egregious activity, then it becomes harder to believe. For whatever reason they figured out, they believe that the level 3 is actually something that's out of bounds of reality. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to kind of wet your beak into this thing and think that that's the whole story. And anything above that is ridiculous. So it's called a limited hangout. So right now they are starting to, through the New York Times and through people like Chris Cuomo and some of these people, they're admitting that these vaccines have caused people damage, or they're saying that people believe that it caused them damage. So they're saying that like there's people who have a psychological belief that it's causing them damage and it needs to be looked into. So this is where they're at. So they're doing what is called a limited hangout. So I just want people to be aware of that. And I'm going to cover that tomorrow. That's why the title for tomorrow is going to be called The Lying Liars Who Love to Lie and the Miscreants Who Support Them.
But doesn't that website with the adverse effects, adverse reporting on vaccines kind of validates what they're saying? These people weren't lying. Like there were people who were pro-vaccine that were saying, oh, they're lying. Those are
there's the VAERS system, which is domestic, and then there's the international system that in 2021, I was showing people the report, and it's from the World Health Organization, and it showed that the COVID vaccines had more adverse reports in the first 3 months of their release than all vaccines in the history of mankind put together.
Yeah.
In 3 months. And it was out there. The information is out there. And I did lectures about it. And some people thought I was crazy because I was bringing it up. And I was literally showing them chapter and verse, like, look at these numbers here compared to X, Y, Z. But like now, since the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, put out the whole thing, don't take ivermectin, you're not a horse. That's it. Now they're reversing that, saying ivermectin actually worked. And you have people like Chris Cuomo from CNN talking about he's taking ivermectin now. And he was a big mouthpiece to try to clown ivermectin and say it was dangerous and only fools take it and blah, blah, blah. So now what they're doing is they're trying to retrace their steps and try to appeal to the sense that the American public has a very short memory. They know that about the American public. So now they're in a stage called limited hangout. And this is a counterintelligence term that they do to admit some of the truth, but not all of it. So tomorrow we're going to cover that. And I would tell everybody who's tuned in, you don't want to miss the show tomorrow. And you're going to want to tell family members, because we're not only going to talk about the problem, but we're going to talk about the solution, how to detox the vaccine from your body. And we're going to go over video and people who've been successful doing it and what the formula is to do it. So tomorrow's show should be very instructive, man. But remember, the title is Lying Liars Who Love to Lie and the Miscreants Who Support Them. That's the title for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
man.
I appreciate you having me on your show.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you coming on, man, chopping it up for me for a couple of hours, man. You know how we do. It was a great conversation, man. It was really good to really kind of relive our time in Gambia and Sierra Leone. We were on top of the world, man. We were on top of the world. We were having a great time and living a life full of purpose, man, while we were in Africa having a great time. So we look to have more of those days. That's what it's all about, man.
Definitely. I look forward to that as well. And you got a smart audience too, man. Like I love the questions. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, the only type of people who would be tuned into a show like this are people who are intellectually curious. We're not talking about celebrities and all of the low-hanging fruit that most of the culture in America likes to focus on. So anybody who is listening to this show has slipped through the cracks of societal peer pressure, and they're actually interested in different forms of conversation. So there are people who tune in religiously. So yeah, it's a great audience, man. And I think that they also got a lot from what you're saying, because there's some who want to go to Africa and have never gone. And so you're like a beacon of light to a lot of them to say, hey, man, just book a ticket. That's what you did. You just booked a ticket. Like you literally just booked a ticket.
Yeah, and I was out. But I have friends that they're like, oh, I put it on my bucket list. And I'm like, how can going home be on your bucket list? Like you're asking me to go to Italy. You want me to go to Italy with you? You want me to go to Greece with you? All these places that are, spending money from the mines in Africa. I ain't going there. I'm going home first.
Exactly.
There's 55 places to go, 55 countries in Africa to go see. Why am I going to waste money going somewhere where colonizers are at?
Exactly. And you said it. I think that's the biggest. We said a lot. I think you said the biggest thing in the show. How can going home be on your bucket list?
Yeah.
That's how can going home be on your bucket list? That's some big lyrics. Yeah. Someone needs to write a song. That needs to be a reggae song, huh? How can going home? I'll tell Jelani about it. I'll tell Rasta Funk about it. How can going home be on your bucket list? Makes no damn sense.
None.
So yeah, man, you did the right thing, man. So big up. Always a pleasure to have communion and contact with the powerful, undefeated.
Yeah.
Howard Dorsey.
Confidence only, baby. Confidence only. That's all.
Yes,
I appreciate everybody. Love you, man.
Peace. Yeah, man. Love you all, man. And we'll be back tomorrow with the show. And again, the title is Lying Liars Who Love to Lie and the Miscreants Who Support Them. And if you love the show and you got something out the show, feel free. Do not feel shy to hit up that Cash App. As the great Pan-Africanist scholar, intellectual, and thinker Umar Abdullah Johnson says, run them Cash Apps. Run them Cash Apps. Run them Cash Apps. So if you got anything out the show, feel free. It's below $ Herbal Results. We do this for the people, but any type of remuneration you can give us or remuneration you can give us from it just shows how much you care, because people are paying for other things that are not empowering them in any way. We want to change that narrative. So we want to get into the ritual of reciprocity. So give thanks for everybody for tuning in. And if you don't have any funds to send for Cash App, don't feel no way. You can just send a message and say great show, but just send some energy, because we gave you a lot of energy today and a lot of information. And many of you all enjoyed the commentary and lived vicariously through us on our time in Africa doing business. You know what I'm saying? So we know that we brought some joy into somebody's life today, man. So it's a pleasure. We'll be doing it again tomorrow, and it should be another great show tomorrow. So peace out, everybody. Beautiful seeing y'all. And you know, we're live Monday through Thursday, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or as we say in Africa, New York time. So big up everybody. And thanks for Howard Dorsey for coming in and chopping it up with me. Bless up.
My pleasure. Peace.
Yeah, man. Bless.